Table Talk. Joined with Corey, and Jack is back with us again this week. Chris should be joining us a little later. He's dealing with his kids who are bouncing off the walls from sugar candy. But
you don't give it to them before Easter. That's the trick right there.
Exactly. But yeah, so tonight we are going to introduce Branchriders, which Jack is one of the co-creators for, and he is showing off the book right now. Look at that shiny cover.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen my copy in the mail yet, but
it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I got like a big day where I get to because I send board games off that people are getting donated and stuff. So I'm like, all right, let me load up the car with everything for the post office. So don't worry, sir. Coming very, very soon.
Can't wait. We'll take a bunch of pictures and show it off. But yeah, just real quick, if you look down in the at our fundraiser for Gen Con, you can see that we've passed the halfway mark. So, we're very making progress on that, which is awesome. So, we're more than halfway there. We just need to keep pressing on and keep raising awareness about our fundraiser and get people to be interested in it. So, and hopefully they help us out. But if you're unaware of what the Gen Con fundraiser is, there's a group of 8 of us going to Gen Con. We have been graciously invited by another partner of ours, Nexus Gaming Lounge, which is located in Wichita Falls and Denton, Texas. So they invited us out. They asked us to cover a portion of the lounging and travel, and they're taking care of everything else for us, all the planning and all that stuff. They're even getting us a table, and they're going to try and hook us up with a couple of panel opportunities that we hope irons out to do something with. So yeah, that's really all it's for. And the more people that donate to it, the more appreciative we're obviously going to be, because we're not going to get there all on our own. We are very well aware that it is a team effort, and it requires a group of people to make this accomplishment happen. And come hell or high water, we're still going to go. We have to pay out of pocket, we will. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, it'd be nice if people could help us alleviate the monetary stress if they can. And it's understandable if you can't. If you just can share and let people know what's going on and what we're doing, that's big too. We appreciate that as well.
Word of mouth's a beautiful thing.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think I reminded everybody, as a veteran nonprofit executive director here, this is one of the reasons that financial compensation goes a long way to helping any nonprofit, because it costs money to keep the lights on and get ink for your printer and put gas in the car and buy signage and cards and all that stuff. It's it's worthwhile.
It is. And then I will say, I made the comment to someone about a month ago. It's like, I knew it was going to be work starting a nonprofit. I just didn't realize it was going to be this much work. So.
Well, I tell you what, we could all celebrate. We'll all go out. I had this idea of getting a tattoo on my hand that just says #nonprofit life. So anytime everyone's like, man, I haven't heard from you in 6 months. I haven't talked to you in a while. You just flash it. And, if you know, and, otherwise it's,
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about Branchriders. Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you start us off by how did you come up with the idea to create this this universe in this game?
Well, the story of Branchriders actually kind of goes back a little bit. So if you look us up online and you look at old podcast interviews and stuff, you'll notice us talking kind of incessantly for about 14 years about something called Save Against Fear. So Save Against Fear was a convention-style fundraiser that we used to run, and we were hoping to run some version of it again in the future. It was basically, a 3-day tabletop game con. So, we would come out, we would play the games that everybody loved, we'd raise money for the nonprofit, and eventually over time, we kind of got a lot of attention because people were really digging the mission of the organization, and they were talking about how gaming helped them, and they were sharing all these stories. So we started to expand it. We started to, have classes for therapists and teachers and stuff. And one of the years we were like, man, we need like more than just, hey, here's our logo. We need it, because even people were like, what the hell is Save Against Fear? How does that correlate to gaming? And the short story is that when we had started out, part of our mission at that point involved the same kind of treatment that we had all been working with people with sexually problematic behaviors. So what we were literally kind of posting on was save against the fear, like make your saving throw against the fear to say something. Speak up if you see something, speak up if you've been affected, if you have this kind of problem, speak up. So the original, we used to run Save Against Fear and something called Meeples and Peoples Against Abuse, which was a board game con and a role-playing game con, and we smushed them together. So fast forward to, I think it was year 5 or 6, we needed something a little bit more. So we asked some very good friends of ours, hey, could you do like some role-playing style art for us so we can put it on the banner? And they made these 5 little characters. One was a superhero. One was like a fox dressed like Naruto. One was like a typical old bearded dwarf. One was like a sci-fi lady. And the other was an old West cowboy. So at that time, we were also trying to find just unique ways to market this idea of intentional skill building through role play. And just one day, just shooting the breeze, we were like, dwarves are kind of resilient. Games teach resilience. Hey, what else do we got? All right, well, creativity and expression. This cowgirl has like a lasso, so that's kind of like getting creative. All right, we're kind of stretching that one a little bit. Oh, fox, clever like a fox. Critical thinking, done. Space girl, educational goals, right? The future is education, all this kind of good stuff. Superhero, they're live and large and in charge, so we decided to make Mr. Meeple our superhero, the hero with smiles for miles, right? And that was social skills, social interaction. So we used these guys for a while as like a marketing gimmick, and on we kind of went. We talked about the heroes of the game, and eventually we added Tesla, who was our risk reward hero. We added Hawk, who is like this pink squirrel girl who is all about like dexterity building games, which can help with anything from like traumatic brain injury to like nerve damage and, gross and fine motor dexterity. And so we have all these and we had Meta, who was perspective taking and empathy. And she was kind of like a wizard. You're going to see some through lines coming through very, very shortly, because we had 8 heroes of the game, right? If you remember from last week when we talked about Branchriders, there are 8 genre-based realms within the world. So it started with us trying to be creative with marketing. Go, what if there was like a world that these people all lived in? And then we were like just kind of goofing around about creating this whole thing where they're like, champion for gaming. So like it's like a Saturday morning cartoon thing. We're like, yes, that's right, kids. We used to have cartoons on Saturday morning. So back when we had cable.
With commercials.
With awesome commercials, might you add.
Batteries not included.
Yeah, so we talked through this, and it was just kind of a good little goof. And at that point, we had started running our training program, and it kept coming up in our training program that a lot of therapists, and these are again mostly folks that were not as well versed in role play, they kind of came to the training and you're just like, wow, this sounds awesome. How the heck do you come up with all these stories and all these adventures? Like, I know D&D, but how do you do it? And I kind of sat back and I was like, what if we made our own game? And we wanted to be very clear, even way back then, because truth be told, Eddie Webb, who I talked about last week, he's designer of Pugmire amongst many other games he's worked on. I met a number of times with Eddie because at that time, Onyx Path Publishing, who is our publisher and co-collaborator on Branchriders, we were already fast friends with Rich Thomas, who is the director of Onyx, and he used to work for White Wolf. So if you ever played like Vampire the Masquerade, like Rich was the creative director of White Wolf, like way back in the day. And they had been sponsoring Save for a number of years. So we invited Eddie, and I got to meet him and some other designers like Doug Lewandowski. And I was like, Rich, Eddie, we want to make a game. And he's like, we got to make sure it's a game. And I went, oh, no, totally. Because we seen a lot of products that are therapeutic role-playing games and therapeutic board games. And kind of one of the biggest things that kind of chomps our hinder is when you sacrifice the game for the therapy, which I know sounds weird for me to say, right? Because
I get where you're going with that.
Yeah, it's like people are like, oh my God, one of the best games ever is the Ungame. And I'm like, that is the most appropriate name thing ever because it is not a game. You roll the dice, you move your pawn, then you talk about yourself for 5 to 10 minutes. That's not a game. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there are a lot of games that like they just really heavily weigh on the therapy as the topic. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Not at all. And they said, well, first you gotta have a world. And I was like, man, wait, world? I got 8 worlds. I got a fantasy world. I got a sci-fi world. Okay, Fox. Now at this point, we had kind of gone through and we did some redesigns on a lot of our characters. And we were like, all right, first of all, Naruto Fox, I don't want to get sued by Ghibli or Shonen Jump or whatever. So can we change him to be like a Fox detective? And it was purely like a marketing decision. We just wanted to keep ourselves safe. So we had this noir detective. So we're like, okay, critical thinking, noir setting, fantasy, resilient setting. And this is when we started to bring a bunch of folks onto the creative team. And I'm going to sound out as many of those folks as I'm kind of remembering tonight. So initially it was myself, very good friend of ours who I'll talk about a little bit. And my apologies if I get a little maudlin when I talk about Dave. But Dave was like, he was the lore guy, and he just like vomited pages of just story and lore in these compelling worlds. And his 2 kids, Rich and Bonnie, were brought along to the design team. And one of our facilitators, good buddy of mine, James Kirk. Yes, that is his real name. That's why we call him the captain. And then like a couple of other folks who were kind of with us in the initial. And we just kind of said, look, we got these 8 worlds and we need to make sure that therapy is in there somewhere. But so we just tore through the lore. Like, for example, when we talk about all the 8 realms, the borderland, I mentioned last week how in the borderland, it's a Wild West realm, but we didn't want to do like the Old West with like cowboys and Indians, or indigenous, like, that colonialism kind of thing. So we were like, all right, what could be different about this world? Well, we decided to marry these fictional worlds with the concepts that we had already connected them to when we created the heroes for the game. So Alice, the cowgirl, was our creativity and expression girl. So now the Wild West, we started to envision this realm where what if like the whole landscape was psychoreactive and like what you created could come back? Man, this is cool. So we're mixing creativity and expression with cowboys and this Old West setting. So now, oh, wait a minute. So you, like I said, you have things like brush slingers, who are like, that's how you duel, is through your creativity and art. But we could also maybe therapeutically talk about things like writer's block and creativity drought and performance anxiety. And like also about creativity, you put a lot of yourself into what you create. So we could talk about self-esteem and perfectionism and like, okay, we're cooking, we're juicing now, right? So over the time span, because the total development of Cycle of Branchriders was, I would fairly say about 5 to 6 years. We really started a little bit earlier like a little bit before 2020. I had a conversation with Eddie Webb at PAX Unplugged, and this is when he was like, look, dude, first and foremost, you got to have a game. You got to have a setting. You got to have something that would be mechanics that you can hang your hat on. And we talked for miles about, can we just do a Power by the Apocalypse? Should we do a D20 mod? Should we do, all these, there are tons of other systems that people use to create their games. And at that time, I was like, no, we need it. We need our own system. And they're like, it's going to be a lot more work, Jack. And I went, okay, here we go, team. Right. So from the get-go, I was that guy. But we did bring a lot of those people as we went along. So we fleshed out all these worlds, and we had like pages upon pages of information and documents and all this. Then we brought along Doug Hagler. Doug is he's a member of our board of directors, and also a humongous Tolkien fan. And Doug had done some writing and creation on some role-playing games before. Parsec is, I believe, the name of the role-playing game that he helped design. So Doug basically came on, and he looked through all the worlds, and he was like, yeah, I see a problem here. And of course, first-time creator, I'm like, what do you mean there's a problem? Like, there's all kinds of defensive, right? And he's like, yeah, I don't buy these worlds. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's too therapy heavy. And I go, well, that's kind of the point of the game. And he goes, but I thought you didn't want it to be a traditional therapy game. And I went, oh, crap, you're right. I didn't.
Oops.
so we started to have these really intense, like weekly, bi-weekly meetings where we took all of the lore, but we had to create compelling backstories to each of these realms as to why this world would really exist. And then we had to answer the questions about, well, what's your mission? And like, so you're a branch rider. Do people know you're a branch rider? Do people know that? Because we already had the idea for the blight, because that was like gaming cheers you up when you're bummed out. Hey, that's kind of like a blight, sadness, depression, lack of social connection, what have you. So really it started as a way to provide a wide variety of settings so that practitioners, because again, like I talked about last week, not every kid we work with loves Dungeons and Dragons. Not every kid we like, personally, I don't grok the fantasy. I can tolerate fantasy and I enjoy it, but I like sci-fi. I like Cthulhu, cosmic horror. I like detective stories. You know what I mean? Like, so we needed other genres because we thought, well, this way, if I have a party of 5 or 6 different genre lovers, they can all be in the same adventuring group. They can adventure together. Cool. But we also wanted to mix, so each realm, and when I talk about the realms, when we get into that, I'll talk about what skill building convention. There's even a little paragraph in the book that kind of says, here's the therapeutic concept for this world. We didn't want to belabor the point. It may go, well, here's now 3 pages on the importance of creativity and expression. No, we have a facilitator's guide that was, the final editing was just approved, that we're going to get ready to lay out. And that will be another thing. So that way, if you are a therapist or a teacher or whatever, using this with intention, it kind of gives you a guide on how to go more that direction. We wanted this game to appeal to a wide market. So that was our direction of taking all this. Now, the mechanics, I definitely have to say that the early iterations of our mechanics, let's just say we had a lot of crunch loving folks here. So, yeah, our early systems were heavy. And they were like, let this chart. And again, like I said, I hate charts. And I wanted to also say, well, look, if I get a therapist that's not a gamer, if I get a parent that wants to use this with their children to like teach good moral lessons to get their kids to work together, for crying out loud, we would need simple systems. So we actually started with using fudge dice from Fate. Which, if you're not familiar with fudge dice, it's you roll the die, it's either a minus, a plus, or a nothing. And you basically kind of clamor out the minuses and the pluses. And so even then, we had the whole success system, but it was based on fudge dice. And some people didn't like the added cognitive load of the math of having to do your pluses and minuses. So then we eventually decided, and again, Doug was a major factor in the simplification of the mechanics. I give a lot to Doug in that regard, that, yeah, we decided to go with the D4 through D12 range and the whole 3 successes system. From the get-go, I wanted approaches because I didn't want kids to zone in on how strong I am or how fast I am. We wanted therapeutically for kids to zone in on how are you solving a problem, because that's one of the biggest things that we do in the therapeutic groups. And here's the other through line for tonight. We also thought it was more compelling. I don't give a crap in a story about how strong you are. I want to know what you're doing to solve the problem. Like, are you Han Solo smarming your way in to the cantina? Are you strong arming somebody to get into the cantina? Are you trying to sneak around? You know, that makes for an interesting story of why are you doing this? It leads to like motivation in the scene and stuff like that. So every aspect of the system, as we were kind of clamoring it down, was all based on how do we take the two sides, and again, this was a direct reflection of Bodhana's mission of how do we balance being a great therapist with a great storyteller? How can we balance our role-playing system so a recreational fun group can have just as much to get out of this game as a therapist can? So we wanted to make sure that we were providing people robust opportunities for stories, so hence the 8 realms, the approaches system, and all the other things that we'll talk about when we go into mechanics. They all have underpinnings of therapeutic goals, because we also wanted to make sure, and some of the realms when we talk about them, we also didn't want people to go, oh, what a cute kid system. Now, not that there isn't a place for that. There's tons of like Venture Society, which is a game published by Ninth Level, designed by some very good friends and colleagues of mine. It's basically Richard Scarry's Busy Town, the RPG for kids, and it's designed for social emotional learning. They're straight to the set. That's what the game is designed to do. We wanted to make it a more robust experience so that just regular players, even if you want to play real dark stories, oh, trust me, the party, which we will talk about later, is all about an authoritarian government that is outlawing emotion, and they police it like it's like a hellscape version of Demolition Man. You know what I mean? We did not include the 3 seashells. You want to have to explain those to the kids, right? But yeah, that was kind of when we started off. So I mean, Dave's daughter Bonnie and Rich were very, like, her daughter Bonnie and son Rich were very good about helping create a lot of our blights at the beginning. Like, Bonnie is vicious. When you look in that book, like 95% of those blights are her and Rich, like, really going to town on creating, you know, some of the, like, even the cool things about like exposure boosts and getting them more powerful. It was partially because Bonnie just kept creating all these powers. We didn't outline them. Like, you've got to stop creating new stuff. We have to fit what we have in the book. But she just kept going to town. Rich, who is a budding artist himself, also was helping a lot with kind of the artistic vision that David had with a lot of these settings from the beginning. So everybody played their parts, and it's one of these, like, I heard that what we did as a team was very weird, that we would get together like every week or every other week, and we'd have like a 2-hour just BS session where we were just spitballing and talking about, well, what about this? Ooh, that would be kind of cool. And then we didn't give assignments, but by the next time we met, we had pages and pages of information. So Dave would bulk, I would help bulk, and Doug would sculpt. And that was kind of the general idea of the creative process. Now, unfortunately, and again, this might be my my maudlin portion here, but sadly, we lost Dave. He passed almost 3 years ago now. At this point, Dave had a congenital heart issue. I don't know exactly what it was, but he had to get this specialized device where literally he rolled his heart around on the floor. It was like an artificial heart that wasn't inside of him because he was waiting for a transplant. So he had gotten a transplant, and that's actually when we met Dave. Was the first thing that Dave did after he had gone through his transplant surgery, and he was kind of okay, even with all the immunosuppressant stuff that he was on, was he came to a Save Against Fear. And this was pre-COVID. And obviously, because Dave was on immunosuppressant drugs, him and his family were wearing masks. Yeah. Right? So we were kind of like, I mean, I had heard like, folks in Japan and China and stuff, like it's the only time that I had seen like people on mask or during flu season. So we started to talk, and then he was sharing about how when he was in the hospital during his transplant experience, how gaming basically maintained his sanity. How he would play games on the unit with other people, and his family would come in and they'd play games together, because he's like, man, living in a hospital is a casino of hell. There is no concept of time. You are constantly woken up to get picked and prodded and poked for blood and whatever else, fluid and tests and whatever. He's like, so you literally can get what they call patient delirium, where you just don't know where the hell you are. But gaming had kind of saved him. He's like, the one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure the second chance that I got, that I gave something back. So Dave wanted to get involved with Bodhana. And besides the Branchriders project, like him and the family came out to do like volunteer events with us, and they helped run Save Against Fear with us. And so it was real sad that, Dave had basically gotten some rejection symptoms with his first donor heart that he had for a number of years. And he actually was in line, and he got his second transplant, and everything was looking good. He got COVID. And I don't think I need to really finish the rest of the story. So Dave eventually decided with his family that he was tired, and he just wanted to rest. But it was if you read the book's dedicated to him. Actually, the front cover, if you see the gentleman on the front cover here, the hat is actually, that's Dave, because one of Dave's best creative settings that he loved was the Borderlands. That was his realm. So if you look in the book, in the character creation section for the Borderland hero, in the red, and I have to do this just to make sure that I'm shouting out for my boy. But yeah, if you see this guy right here, and then you look at a picture of Dave, that's Dave.
No kidding.
Yeah, you have it in the intro, right, in the first couple of pages. I saw that.
Yeah, that's right. The dedication. But yeah, we dedicated. That's Dave right there. And there's also a picture in the back. We have a special art section, so that way Rich could talk a little bit about, him and his dad's talks about the creative vision. And there's another picture of Dave kind of rocking the devil horns hooked up to all his tubes. I mean, he was a badass. He was a hell of a guy. Yeah. And we miss him incredibly, but every piece of this book, every time I talk about it, everything like that, like we made it happen, Dave. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the big journey. I mean, then at that point, once we had mechanics and all of these worlds build up, the book was about 80% done when we went to Onyx. And by done, I mean we had a ton of crap written. We had to throw it together and cut away the chaff, But once we started doing more like active play tests and taking it out and running it at Save Against Fear and other events, it really started coming together. And then we, talked to Gong Studios about getting the Branchrider character in the world's art. I talked to Bear about getting the Blight art. I talked about that a little bit last week. And then we, for the first time in my life ever, planned a Kickstarter. Had a lot of wonderful help from Onyx Path and the OPP Concierge. And yeah, we kickstarted in less than 8 hours on our first ever Kickstarter, which was awesome. I mean, again, we're not breaking Mystery Science Theater numbers here or Dagger Art or whatever, or Critical Role numbers. But yeah, we were proud as heck when we got the book out roughly a little bit over a year. Re-earned some change after we had postulated 2 years, I think, on fulfillment, but we came in about a year and 4 months. Okay. And that's kind of the journey of Branchriders and everything that came in there.
Now, I got a question that was asked, and I'm gonna segue it into a question that I had when it comes to the publishing of Branchriders, because the Badana Group is also a nonprofit. Like obviously, there's a lot of red tape that goes behind,
Yep.
the funding of a product and selling it and things like that. Did you run into any difficulties with that, or has it been pretty easy to balance that aspect of it?
Pretty easy to balance that. I mean, in the nonprofit world, we're very used to things being earmarked for very certain specific purposes, and we kind of knew. I mean, almost every Kickstarter, you go over budget to a degree, but we had to really make sure that, like with a lot of the projects and things that we were doing, that like the money that came in from Branchriders, we were like, no, that's not Bodana money. That's paying for art money. That's paying for graphics and layout and stuff like that. I mean, interestingly, the only, I would say, issue, quote unquote, that we've run into with the game is actually in the way that we have to market it, because being that we're a nonprofit, we don't have the money. And I would love to be like, hey, here's a $10,000 fundraiser to buy a section of these books so that we could then like take them to a shipping or a distributor and, make money that way. But because we had to do a print on demand fulfillment, otherwise it would have been exorbitant costs for us to house copies, print copies, ship copies. That's kind of the main reason that we went with a PDF fulfillment with a coupon option for a print on demand later. Now, the only other unfortunate part to that piece, you may be picking up the through line here, is I can't sell this to a store without taking a tremendous hit. I'm not Watsy. I don't have millions of dollars to go, yeah, I'll give you a 40% markup on this book. I can't do that. So unfortunately, unless a store really, really loves us or really, really loves the mission, this is not a book that you're going to see in stores anytime soon. At least until something changes, which, I mean, I'm a nonprofit executive director. What do you mean I don't get traditional publicity and press for something? Like, wow, I've never encountered that before. But yeah, that's probably been our main thing. I mean, otherwise, it's really easy when we do sales on the book. We have Square readers that we use for all of our fundraising. So whenever we sell the books, we make sure that those are charged with tax. Any of the products that we have to pay tax for, that's really the biggest thing, because donations, hey, here's a rubber ducky, $3, $2 a duck. We don't charge tax on that. It's a donation, right?
Yep.
But this is a product. We have to make sure that we're charging tax because we have to pay tax on it. And when we do our accounting every year, it gets billed a little bit different. And we also got to mind, because I've had a couple of stores that are like, hey, could you at least maybe make 10% off of this book? And I'm like, all right, it gets it into a store, it's visibility. So, but that's after we've paid for the book and, Onyx has gotten their cut, because that's another unique thing as well, is that we share the profits of it with Onyx Path, obviously, because, they're our publisher and collaborator on the book. So yeah, that what I would say is probably the biggest quote unquote challenge with being a nonprofit, is just that we want more people to see it and to get it out there, which is literally, you're like, hey, do you want to talk about Branchriders? Hell yeah, I do. I want as many people to see this as possible. I want this game to get out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really about it, Mike.
Okay. So Buddy in our chat, he asked, what is a good direction to go to get info on creating a veteran nonprofit? He knows it's a big topic, but he's looking in that direction as he continues to building his own ecosystem.
I would say a couple of things. One, do a lot of research before you branch out. One, there are a lot of other veterans charities out there. Not that we don't have room for a lot more. But one of the things that a lot of people, and this is something we learned kind of late in the game, really, is that when you talk about nonprofit operation, partnership is really the new model of nonprofit operation. Going it alone is kind of a thing of the past. One, because most of the funding isn't there. And two, what we wind up with, and the only way I can describe it is if you know anybody who is Native American, or who has like things like the the tribal bureau, you know, like I forget what they call it. It's like the Bureau of Indian Affairs or something like that, I think it's called, where it's kind of like, well, we only give this much to these people or these people. Like there's limited funds out there, and you wind up people kind of infighting about the pie and how it gets cut off. It's the same way kind of in the nonprofit. People only have a certain amount of money to be able to give. So when you talk about like getting funding, that's really why I keep harping on money is the best way to help a nonprofit. So that's one things is just to check out who else is doing something maybe similar to you. Not that I don't want to encourage people to follow their dreams, but at the same time, if like you're doing the exact same thing that someone across town is doing, it's going to be harder for the both of you, as opposed to if you link up or look at, like I said, your mission and your direction. What is it that I believe they call it reverse marketing or something now? What makes you different from the other nonprofits that work with veterans? Because there are people like, we give veterans coats, we give veterans cars, we give veterans cell phones, we give veterans houses. Those are 4 different nonprofits, right? But they kind of zone in on one thing. So advice with that is, just find out really what you want to do. Have a clear line of your mission and your vision, because a lot of people got great intentions, but not a lot of plans. And we kind of learned that early in our run because we had a lot of very committed people. And again, no telling stories in church, but every nonprofit goes through hey, I thought you said we were going to be all hands on deck. I was on deck. Where the hell are you? Because people also have limited time. And one of the biggest things about making a nonprofit work is time. There are going to be a lot of unpaid nights. There are going to be a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of answering phone calls. Like, you don't have office hours when you run a nonprofit. And again, I'm not saying this to discourage you, anyone that wants to start one, but first getting your mission, because when you go to fill out your 501c3 paperwork, you're going to need to define what you're all about, because that's why how they approve you. So I'd say having key people, firm direction, and at least some kind of nest egg, because it's also not cheap to get your 501c3 paperwork. We paid about $2,000 for someone to do it and file it for us, because if you want to file it yourself, I'm going to come and smack you in the back of the head and go, don't do that, because the forms can be complicated. So I don't know if that directly answered the question. How'd I do on that, buddy?
Yeah, like you hit a lot of good points that, us being within now entering our second year, we've definitely noticed a lot of that, where there's a lot of trial and error, and you're gonna have those tough nights, and you expect boots on the ground and people to go hard charging, and
Yep.
expectations aren't met to the standard
Yeah,
that you think they should be.
I think also be very wary of lofty promises without operationalized structures, because people will promise you the world when you have a dream, and that's great because that keeps you going. But to leap into the sky, you got to have your boots on the ground first so you can make that jump. That's kind of that's a less mixed metaphor than Jack usually. But yeah, that's really the other thing. I mean, go ahead, do your thing. And actually, a lot of nonprofits are kind of willing to talk to you about their struggles. And even some, like if you're doing something very similar yet different, you can also umbrella under another nonprofit. You want to wait till they're a little established after they get their 501, but that's basically where a nonprofit recognizes another nonprofit that they do things in collaboration. You kind of borrow sort of the use of their 501c. As long as you follow all the rules, everything's cricket,
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. So just like you said, buddy, just keep working on your current ecosystem. Find people that have a very similar goal to yours, and build those connections.
Yeah, since 2009 when we started Bodana, oh my God, it's been 17 years this year. I have lost more people from Bodana than I have gained, and that's just the rate of attrition with volunteers. And eventually some of people they didn't want to leave; they just had to get regular jobs. and they couldn't afford doing the free stuff. I had the luxury of being able to, like, I ran Bodhana until 2020, completely in addition to a 50, 60 hour a week job. Like when I ran Bodhana before I was able to get paid doing it. And again, truth be told, here's the other thing. So folks maybe want to donate to us. I make less than $30,000 a year for what I do. Like that's my take home. Not even my take home. That's my gross, because nonprofit. You know, I don't do this for the millions, because I sure as heck haven't seen them yet.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
You do it for the cause, not for the reward.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, so appreciate the insight, Jack. Helps a lot to hear someone who's been doing it for an extended period of time.
Yep.
All right, so let's go back into the story of Branchriders. We've gone into the development of the game and how you came about the realms and the worlds. What is the overarching story of Branchriders?
Okay. So the basic story is, as a branch rider, you have the ability to see the enemy of the game, the blight, for what it is. Now, the blight can be anything from a scary monster to a person who is possessed by the blight. And the blight's whole goal is they just want to create chaos. They just love chaos for chaos' sake. They want to break the system down. They want people to be miserable. They want people to be fighting at each other. I know it sounds too real, right? So a branch rider's job is they come from one of 8 different genre-based realms. And I talked briefly about those. I'll go into detail in a sec. So when you are tapped, it's almost kind of like when a Jedi Knight is found. They're like, you're going to be a Padawan. You could use the Force, right? Well, you could see the blight. So you have the ability to be a branch rider. So you basically learn, once you are brought back to the Nexus, which is where the branch riders are trained and where they live, that there is a barrier that has been placed around the different 8 realms. And within each realm, there are multiple locations. We've provided one sample location for each realm in the book, but we encourage people to make their own settings, because that's what people do anyway in a role-playing game. You know what I mean? How many people really play in Faerun, as the book says? Come on. So we, the original branch riders, and we kind of left some of this kind of nebulous. We borrowed a little from Eddie Webb's page. I was talking about Pugmire last week, and I talked about the whole, like, you know, mankind suddenly just went away. They went somewhere, and people have emailed and messaged Eddie over years going, well, what happened to man? Did they get a plague? Did they go into space? And he was like, I don't know. What does your table want it to be? Right? It's an unimportant detail. It's kind of like the way we do money in branch riders. I don't care how many gold pieces you have. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because this isn't chartered accounting, the role-playing game. It's branch riders. We're focused on adventure. Never mind how much money you have. That also was borrowed from Eddie. In Pugmire, you have a little coin, some coin, a lot of coin, too much coin. It was just kind of broken down. Basically, the original branch riders created the curtain to keep the blight from uniting with itself across realms. Now, some people argue that this was the wrong mistake, or the wrong choice to make, because it separated people and it created these little pocket worlds that kind of explained, as designers, why we made everything so genre heavy. So there's not really blend between the genres. But story-wise, you learn that you also can't go back home, because you would have to explain to all of your friends and family where the heck you were while you were in other realms adventuring, and it would create too much suspicion. Now, from time to time, would it be interesting to make an adventure that goes into one of your characters' hometown? Yeah, sure. If that's your idea of fun, go ahead and do it. It's a compelling story. They have to avoid, you can play it for laughs, like an episode of Three's Company where Jack's on 3 different dates. You know what I mean? Or you could play it really serious and melodramatic. Again, catch the tone of what I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So, as a reason, your mission is secret. So you can't tell anybody in the realms about other realms, about the blight, or about the existence of branch riders. Your mission is secret, which is why mechanically we created the exposure tracker. Fun fact, if you go on a mission to your home realm of origin, one member of your team is from that realm, it automatically increases your exposure at the start of your mission.
Wow. Oh,
I was wondering about that.
Yep. Someone might run into you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
Jack, I do have one question for
yeah,
the lore,
interject
the lore
whenever you want.
side. For the lore side, before the blight became, did the realms know of each other?
We don't know.
Okay.
It was so long ago, because one of the other questions people ask is, wait a minute, how come you got one realm that's like prehistoric fantasy level technology, but you got another one that has powerful AI that can exist in physical space? Unfortunately, one of the negative aspects of the construction of the curtain as a barrier was that it had untold consequences on the flux of time within different regions. It's also why we don't advise Branchriders to stay in any one realm as long as possible, because it could affect you. Again,
yeah, wink, nudge, nudge.
yeah, no, magic fairy story dust. You know what I mean? None of that is written into the book. It's kind of left to now. We did make a little wink and nod in the book to there's a location in the Nexus called the Hall of Heroes. And what we basically imagined is like, you're taken away from home. Branchriders are going to be like, feel homesick. So it literally is like an eco quad where there are little geo areas, each designed around your home area. So it's kind of like the quad on your college campus, where if like, I want to just lay around the rocks and the jagged edges of the crags. So I just want to go there and eat my lunch because class is stressing me out today. So the Hall of Heroes also have statues that are erected in memory of the original Branchriders. And one of the pieces of art in the book shows two people fighting in the Hall of Heroes. And the statue behind them, I believe one of the statues is Sagan, who is our critical thinking fox. And I can't remember the art offhand for the other. So we do throw some nods to the old days, but we realized pretty early on we didn't want anybody to play as one of the original Branchriders or even run in to a lot of those discussions. Now, if a party wants to dive into that, who started the curtain? Do it. I want to see your notes, baby. I want to see what you did with this box of Lego. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But no, that's the thing. We didn't want to have to write a lot of complicated backstory lore because we felt that was better in the settings where the adventure would take place.
Gotcha.
So we created backstory like, in the terminal about Zepto. It started out very popular, like the society was doing great. Everybody had all their needs met. And they were like, you know what? Why don't we use AI to take care of everything? I just want to lay around and relax. I don't want to have to be stressed. What could go wrong? Telling AI, just run essential systems. Well, this area now only has 22 residents as opposed to the required 150. This place is no longer necessary and essential systems will be shut down. You have no power or water. AI said so.
Well, it looks like Chris has finally joined us. Welcome, Chris.
Woohoo!
Hello, sir.
Hey.
It's already been a very interesting conversation about this, so but not to put any pressure on you, Jack, but
none whatsoever.
Douglas Underhill is in the Twitch chat.
Doug. Yeah, I talked about you a bunch. That is the Doug I referenced earlier, who is our mechanics guru and helped us tighten up our lore. So hopefully Doug will not need to correct me, but he is more than welcome too, because it will make the chat more exciting as well.
I'm sure it will.
He just stands there like my wife, shaking his head no every time I tell a story.
Like it's not how you're supposed to say it, Jack.
What we meant to do. Yeah. So in general, every adventure kind of starts with the same basic kind of idea that as a branch rider, they discover an emergency, and they basically then assemble, quote unquote, the perfect team for the job, which just so happens to be you. So they pretty much, you go through typical, at least suggested. Every mission I run is you get your mission briefing, typically from Captain Norvik, because I love doing a Russian accent. He's a Russian-minded previous general in the Steel Imperium in the Chain. So he used to be one of the bad guys until he got wise, and he actually runs Branchriders Academy. That's always followed by a visit to Gossamer, our wonderful fairy friend, who I've patterned my iteration off of Cyndi Lauper. She's kind of a cross between Tiny Tina and James Bond's Q Branch.
Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of out there, but she's your quartermaster. She's the one that gets you any information or materials you need. Like, for example, if you come from one of the Anthro realms, one of the essential questions I always do is, if Anthros are going to a non-Anthro realm, you're going to need a disguise. If you're a non-Anthro going to an Anthro realm, you'll need a disguise. So Gossamer always puts both of her hands in her pockets, left and right, and goes, science or tech. You make the choice. And the player selects, and it's usually something obviously is designed to go kerflooey later. But it's always like her lab assistants are heavily nervous. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'll get jumped it around there. And then typically after that, they go to Dolores, who is the wonderful octopus lady who runs the portal, which is what's shown on the cover of Branchriders. And she has like one of those like mid-Northwestern accents, so kind of like my own little Edie McClurg, Gen X reference again. And she sends you to the area, and you always go in with limited intel because we don't always have agents stationed on the ground. You're dropped in at a convenient location, and the adventure typically takes the form of find out what the problem is, try to come up with a solution, see how it goes snafu, continue story. The Nexus won't bring you back unless one of two things happens. One, you've completely solved the problem and there's no longer a blight emergency and the signature has gone back down to a 0, or you crap the bed and you tore the curtain, which is possible and has happened in my older teen therapeutic group. I made the mention that the curtain could be torn, and all of a sudden it became a teen goal. What happens if the curtain tears? And I literally said, I don't know. The game's only been out for like 6 months. What do you want from me? I was like, no one's ever torn the curtain. Big mistake. They've tore the curtain, and now we're on like a 4-5 arc narrative of them repairing the breach and preventing the worlds from colliding. So, yeah.
It's like, well, I could think of a couple of ideas.
It could be as simple as all of a sudden you have a caveman dude in the middle of the Heights superhero setting. Maybe that's his superpowers, he's Captain Caveman. I don't know. Yep. But when you come from the Crags, which is a land where nothing grows and there's no food, and then you go to this hyper corporate world where there's food everywhere, you're like, what is happening? Like, you would lose your mind, right? So a lot of fish out of water stories are kind of like what we like to tell. But again, you can run it stone cold serious, or you can run it very light and fluffy. Because like I mentioned before, we run Branchriders in our therapy groups for 10 to 14, 15 to 18, and our adult groups are using it as well. So it's not just a kiddie game. It's actually why we chose like an American anime style of art, like a Legend of Korra kind of style of approach. So yeah, I think that's kind of the basics of what it is. I don't know if you want me to go into depth on the realms, or because I know you guys said that you were reading up and had some questions, so I want to make sure not to monopolize all the convo.
Yeah, I think we can like give like brief introductions on each of the realms, kind of like go over each one and like the setting a little bit. One thing I did really like when you're reading through each of the realms is you have a movie/TV reference.
Wow, that was so helpful.
And I really enjoyed that.
That was phenomenal.
Because it was like, this really helps me paint a picture on what I'm looking at.
Yep.
And I know not everyone's gonna get it, especially like some of the younger generations, but Google is
But
at your
that gives us-
fingertips.
That gives a reference to explain, what kids movie is close to this.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest challenge was, and again, you'll see this, when we go to do, actually, you've seen some of my training slides for the safety tools training. I make a lot of Gen X references, and I'm constantly, like, I'm training 25-year-olds, and they're like, what the hell is V for Vendetta? And I'm like, I quit. I'm out of here. I'm sorry. I can't help this generation anymore. But the trick
use what
was,
you know.
Right. All my references for movies were all Gen X references. And the rest of the team was like, Jack, no one's going to know all these references. you gotta pull it back, brother. And I was like, okay, cool.
All right.
Really cool. Yeah. Like Zootopia is a very common reference that can very easily explain the burrows.
Yep.
For me, it was the movie Animal Olympics that kind of explained the rails. Most people under 40 don't know what the hell Animal Olympics is. It was a very limited knowledge thing, but it was animals at the Olympics made in 1980. Go figure.
Yep.
It's actually why the character for the rails is an otter who's like a surfer dude. It's an homage to Dean Wilson, the surfer dude otter in Animal Olympics.
Nice.
So, okay. Realms. So there are 8, technically 9 realms if you count the Nexus, which again, Nexus is your home base. Think of it kind of like a college town. There is a town, a settlement that's kind of set up. People will ask the detail-oriented question of like, well, where do they sleep? If they work at the university, they sleep at Branchriders Academy. Otherwise, they sleep in town. Do they have like apartments or whatever? Whatever you want, dude. Like, we didn't want to, we're trying in some updated materials to work on like a relative map of the Nexus because some people need that to lock it down. I'm like, man, keep it wobbly. Like, it's all right. Just let it flow, So there is where Branchriders Academy is at. And there are some other aspects to this setting, like the Taste of the Branch restaurant is one of my favorites. It's actually, if you see the picture of like a group of Branchriders around a table eating, that is a restaurant that an old Branchrider started where it literally is recipes from all the 8 realms. So you can come and have a taste of what you remembered from home. And it was actually, he originally made this was a story from a role-playing adventure that one of my clients brought in where he and his partner had planned on opening a restaurant together, but his partner never made it. So now he opened this restaurant in his honor to celebrate like the meals they ate together when they were on the job, like doing what, and it was actually based on like a story that I read about like, 2 guys from World War II just happened to fall in love with each other. And that's what their memories were. It was like this really beautiful story. So we wanted to make the Nexus like just a hyper mix. So a way that we typically view it is when you look at like control panels and technology, it has a little bit of crystal woo-woo for the crags. It has a little bit of 60s technology for the heights. It has a little future tech, like something to make sure that everyone is comfortable. So it's kind of like a ragtag, but it's also very clean and friendly and organized. Like it's a nice place to live, and not like Springfield and G.I. Joe, another Gen X reference. Okay. So as far as realms goes, the main realms, we're going to start with the Borderland, which I already talked a little bit about. So the Borderland is a Wild West realm where, due to properties that may or may not be caused by the curtain, who knows, the world is mapped that people feel motivated to create because the blankness of the frontier and the unsettled terrain is like a blank canvas that must be filled. So instead of expansionism filling it with towns and all kinds of stuff, people create to take care of that urge. Unfortunately, the realm is psychoreactive. So occasionally what you create comes to life. So originally it started off as kind of a way for us to tell stories like, if you like, how many times does an artist when they're creating crumble their paper of their first crappy 1,000 drawings that they made? I can't get noses right, or Rob Liefeld never got feet right. It's totally fine. So we wanted the Borderlands to have all the trappings of the Old West, but we wanted to make it more creative. So everything has a Rococo architecture style. So it's not like full of dirt, and every spoonful of food you have. It's like pretty nice looking place to live, but everything's kind of turned on its head. That people are motivated by art, obsessed with art, and that can be anything. It can be drawing, painting, dancing, etc. So we created the city of Artisan Bluff. That's the setting in the book, and Artisan Bluff is it is a location with competing art theories. So there is the Hand family, which is basically, we use our heart, we use our head, we use our hand. Like, that's how you generate art. Meanwhile, Art Co. is kind of like no. You want to make money when you do art. So you're going to all draw the same thing because that's what people want, taking the creativity out of it, right? So it's all about this warring faction, and there's this location in town called called the Gorge. And the whole purpose of the Gorge is that's where you go to throw the art that didn't work out so well. They just have to contend with the fact that every now and then, if people are that upset about the art they threw away, it could merge together into a gigantic art monster. That's where we get blights like the Scrapture, which are literally horrific creations that are abandoned by their creator, like Frankenstein. So they kind of hunt and feed on the town. So you could do horror, you could do, all kinds of stuff. So that's the Borderland. The Burrows, which I love the art for the Burrows, dude. The Burrows is our 1940s noir setting. And again, the original intent was to meld critical thinking. So what we did with the Burrows is we made it that the whole city, if you ever, I believe one of the reference points was the movie Dark City, where it's like an inescapable city. The whole city's kind of like a puzzle box that you can't get out of, but no one seems to question it. So in the city, it is full of anthros, and it's all 1940s noir. So literally, the crime boss is a silverback gorilla called Mr. Silver. He has gorillas in monkey suits, like, insert trope joke here. But the whole thrust of the Burrows location is a place called Horizon City. And this is the city where everyone is trapped. They have different neighborhoods and burbs, kind of like the Five Boroughs from New York. And we named it the Borough. It's actually the other thing I should mention. These names are not what the realms call themselves. This is kind of like the nickname that the beat cop gave the realm. So when they talk about it, it's the Burrows, which is not only the Burrows, the Five Bros, but it's also the Burrows, Burrows, like rabbits burrow and animals burrow. So never a cheap reason to get a pun in there. But yeah, the Burrows is just all about noir cities, but a lot of it involves finding like secret codes and ciphers and conspiracies, because people are like, I swear I went on vacation and left the city, but I don't feel rested. Something's wrong. So those who do figure out the mystery, they go to what we call the home for the vexed, because they believe there's more out there and that this is a prison that everybody has been trapped in. So again, we've told crime-rich noir stories here. We've played a lot of tongue-in-cheek, but that is the Burrows, which again is one of the anthro realms that we have. But we didn't want to make it full bust fuzzy, like you're not fully anthro. You can be whatever degree you want. So if your character has just wolf ears and that's it, you can hide them like Mr. Spock on Star Trek. Just put a wool cap over you, you'll be fine. You work at the docks, whatever. But that is the Burrows. I believe next we have Chain. And please interrupt with any questions while we're going through. Otherwise, you pull my string and I'll just go. So the Chain is our steampunk realm. Now, what we did here was, remember earlier I was talking about Tesla, who obviously has some steampunk ideology. We wanted to mix this with the quality of risk-reward / initiative. So what we envisioned here is that in the realm of the Chain, blight energy is actually represented by a material that they call Tenebris. So the Steel Imperium, who is the big army force who's overshadowing and controlling the entire world, a la any steampunk invading anime army, right? They discovered blight and they've powered it and weaponized it. So all of their technology runs off of Tenebris. All their weapons shoot Tenebris blight energy. So it's a very dangerous place. And we wanted to kind of add in the fact that, yeah, there are pockets of resistance because the Imperium's trying to take over, but it's also this very vibrant setting where there's tons of inventors and creators, because inventors and creators take chances all the time. They take risks. It may pay off, it may not. One of the most interesting portions of the chain is something we call the fog. So the fog is a scientific anomaly that we don't understand why it works this way, but there's a huge green fog. It's just this cloud of mist, and islands disappear into the fog, and there's no way to tell when they'll come out. Time doesn't work the way that it normally does in the outside world. So sometimes they'll discover islands that have been within the fog for hundreds of years, and they have all of these weird technological or maybe ancient secrets to them. So it gives also that risk reward. I can go investigate this, the scary place with the ziggurat. Who knows if I'll find an ancient tribe of something, or I might find some secrets, or I might find poisonous plants. I don't know. But we got to take a chance, because if we don't find something to overpower the Imperium, they're going to take over everything. So again, can you see I built a lot of themes of fighting and the resistance? We threw a lot of that into our game here. But that is the chain, the steampunk realm. Next, we have the Crags. The Crags is a fantasy D&D realm. Good, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. So in our version, we wanted to, and this is something that, Doug really kind of, jumped a lot in on here, is we wanted the blight to be represented differently in each realm to kind of reflect whatever the skill building convention was. So remember I told you the story about how we had the little dwarf dude, and that was resilience. That's what started us on this whole heroes of the game thing. Well, we thought, okay, let's mix the therapeutic convention of resilience into the very world itself. So in the chain, and you're going to see parallels the more you look through them and go, oh, that's like, okay, but different. In the Crags, the blight is also in the very ecosystem itself. But what it has done is acid rain is literally acid rain. The crops do not grow because the blight has infected the entire landscape. So finding clean water, finding pure food, you need to be resilient to survive. That's why they named it the Crags. So the Branchriders should go back a second. The Branchriders named the chain because of all the island archipelagos and chains of islands. The Crags is named so for, but man, everything's just so jagged. It's just harsh. So the whole basic idea.
Question, Jack.
Yeah,
I apologize for cutting you off.
No,
so I'm assuming. So we end up in the Crags. We're not gonna just randomly want to hand out food to the kids that are starving.
Not unless you want a chain of ducklings following you everywhere.
Well, not just that, but that's going to bring attention to us, and that's going to start having some negative ramifications. Correct?
Oh, that'll pop your exposure up real quick. Yo,
thank you. Exposure was the word.
Rich people with food. Check it out. Why do you have food? No one has food. Even the queen struggles for food.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of your standard fantasy style kingdom, but we wanted to build in that sense of, desperate times, desperate measures, people having to cling to each other. So it's very kind of, sticking together to survive as kind of a skill, but it has all of the trappings. Like people are like, can I make a centaur? Sure. Can I make a unicorn? Whatever. Like, we're very yes and in the Branchrider system, unless it's obliquely ridiculous. But that's kind of basically the realm. Like magic exists in this realm, whereas it doesn't necessarily in other realms, which are other parallels. Like I said, we wanted to make connective tissue between the different realms because there are a couple of player theories which I'll talk about in a little bit, but I want to just give the briefs on the realms. So after the crags, we have the heights. So named because of the superhero skyscrapers in this corporate environment. And this is one of my favorite realms. So the heights is a superhero realm. Think Marvel Comics, think Champions, think Hero, whatever. Here's the twist. A long time ago in Capadonia, which is the main city, a hero basically was getting the crap beat out of him by his superhero nemesis, the Bull. So while the Bull's pounding his face in, a little fan of the Bull, this little kid wearing like bull horns and carrying a pennant and just like, why are you doing it, Mr. Bull? You know, and the villain's like, you care what these people think of you, because he stopped beating the heck out of him. So he invented Capebook, which is a social media app designed to control the flow of information to basically like chill out hero. And then further, I'm a supervillain. I got a cool idea. So what if the people that get the most likes we used for commercials and corporate branding? And we started marketing what hero would be best in what districts. And we created a complete corporate structure around superheroes and the business of superheroes. So the heights were born. There are rules in the heights. One rule that we try to enforce is no killing, because then you're taking away followers, man. Like, these people buy our merch. What are you, nuts? Like, this is how we make money, you idiot. Like, this is part, like, and villains, of course, getting out in the nick of time. What's a more compelling story than he's escaped my grasp this one last time. So it's all, again, no parallels to life here. All social engineering through analogs and algorithms to control the populace. Not at all from today's headlines. But the cool thing is any power could exist. And we even, we made it a conceit of Capedonian. This is kind of a nod to one of the sections in the back of the book. In Capadonia, everybody has a superpower. Now, that might be that your superpower is whenever you use a flathead screwdriver, it never slips out of the groove.
Oh, that would be awesome,
right? Not if you're
Lord.
Not if you're fighting Homelander, but if you work at IKEA, you're the Mac, dude. Like, you're like the best employee at building furniture ever. So now that's just Capadonia. Again, remember we said about telling more adult, more deep and dark stories. What if you wanted to play in a city where only the rich and powerful get superpowers? What if you played in a city where it was all genetic manipulation? Or this alien vehicle crashed and it's irradiating people with powers, but we have to decide who gets them and who doesn't. How do you make that decision? So we can talk about isms, again, metaphor, allegory, all that cool stuff. But on its surface, it's just a cool superhero setting with these big catastrophic battles. It's one of my favorite settings. The picture of the heights in the book is the Bull and Exo, his supervillain. They're having a battle in the middle of the street. All these people are just crowding around with their cameras like, ooh, 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 like not worried about their own safety at all. They just want to get the best feeds, the best video. So yes, that is the heights.
I wonder if in that realm, if you could also spin it to where, so like in D&D, where like if a god has more followers, they get more powerful. That same thought process, right? You have more power, like more followers. They're like pushing your social, awareness and all that stuff, and so now you get more powers as a superhero.
We're using a new experimental algorithm with Capebook that actually is able to drain some of the power from your followers' devices and imbue it through a special connection device to you. That's awesome, dude. Look at that. That's freaking great.
You talked about the villains always escaping, and the first thing that entered my head was like every 1980s cartoon villain.
Yep. Or the Flash's Rogues Gallery. They have an agreement. You don't go too far, I won't bring the hammer down on you. Like, that's our deal, Yep. So yeah, that is the heights. I believe we only have 3 left. Next is the party. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of my favorite settings because it's punk rock anarchy, and I am DIY punk from like the day I was born. So in the party, it is in a world where it was long determined that emotion was the root of all of the wars and all the conflict and all of the bitterness. So Control, which is an organization, I wish I remembered what the heck it stood for. I should probably look it up while I'm just blankly talking so I sound impressive. But yeah,
that was one of my questions.
Oh, what Control stood for?
Yeah.
So Control is the center for non-emotion. No, see, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna misstate it here. Control. Hold on here, folks. Control.
Don't make me ask Doug.
No, I was gonna say he would probably be able to find it even quicker than I would. Why isn't it right there in the beginning? Oh no, here it is. The Committee for Non-Reactive Transformation, Restraint, and Logic.
Oh.
Yeah. So Control basically figured out that if we can block emotion and have people not express emotion, then they won't get all pissed and they won't fight. So we won't have wars and we won't have conflict. Meanwhile, some of the residents of the city, specifically the heartbroken and the heart sick, were like, no. You don't hide emotion, man. You express it. Now, the heartbroken were like, you wall out, brother. You're mad. You smash things. You break stuff. And the heart sick are, no, you need to express your sadness. Why don't you like write a poem or a song or just have a good cry? All three are kind of correct, but they each believe that they're the only correct. So there's constant battle between all of the three factions about who is more right than the other. Just right now, Control has the upper hand. Probably the most fearful thing about Control is they run the city on these huge constructs called metrodomes. And they're basically these gigantic structures that have a tone that is supposed to dosify the entire populace. So they literally surround the cities with them and they just have a tone. And it just keeps everybody in cool rhythm. And when that doesn't work, they have a technique called the open valley technique, where they basically kind of strap you in Ludovico technique, Clockwork Orange style, and they blast you with raw emotional radiation, essentially, that makes you feel the fullness of your emotion until you are so numb that you don't feel anything anymore. And they kind of dump you back out in the street and go, cool, go to work your 8 hours. Cool. You're not going to fight anybody anymore. You just don't care anymore. So they overblast you with this. I just love the party again because of the whole punk rock ethic. I won't go into it, but if you know, there's a lot of cool symbolism in that art picture there. The mohawk color for one, the symbols, and also if you know the laces. So yeah, look it up, kids.
And owning tigers.
Oh, the tiger is my favorite gift in the entire book that I fought for. It's called Living Ink. It's where your tattoos literally can come off of your body into real life. So yeah, that is the party. The next one is the rails, another one of my faves. And I have to always give attribution to I think Doug and James. This is The Last of Us, sponsored by Red Bull. So the Rails used to be a society that was obsessed with athletic competition. They wanted the best of the best of the best to be able to represent them. So they erected towns. Like, you know how every time they run the Olympics in a city, they build this gigantic village that gets abandoned? Now, imagine that the way that you made your athletes better was by trying to augment them using animal DNA. And then the juice gets loose. Some people turn into the feral. So now those Olympic cities are your zombie defense strongholds. But the population is so immersed in athleticism that they created what they call smash ups or smashes, which are basically you take two sports and you smash them together. That's why I think jokingly basketball is referenced as one of the source materials. Which really my favorite smash up is Parscotch, which is parkour hopscotch. So you just paint on all these different wall surfaces, and you just got to be the most creative and awesome as you're tapping the numbers in order. But they're all about like keeping records, and even in the midst of this apocalypse, they're like, "Yo, we need to go on a med run to get some food and to get some medication. So who's up for a milk run? Yeah, I'll take that milk run. I could do it 30 seconds faster than you, though." What? $50, man. 2 minutes faster than you. I got this. I'm the best. So then we could talk about like guys who are past their prime, right? Or people who want to find the juice, which has now been outlawed because of what happened to it. So this is the only other realm in the entire system that also has anthros. Again, of varying degrees. And yeah, so that is the rails. And again, that cool little auto dude, man, Gong Studio slammed it on this art. And then we have our last realm, which is the terminal. The terminal, kind of like our take on Terminator, really. It was, like I had said a little bit earlier, it was a very affluent community. Everybody was doing well, and they kind of decided, hey, let's hand over the running of our future to this AI called Zepto. What could possibly go wrong? We'd just feed it with the right algorithm, tell it to take care of our needs and to help us survive, and nothing could go wrong. Till Zepto, again, no one tampered with it. It just took its job too seriously and started shutting down essential systems. It started wiping data banks because it deemed them inefficient. So at this point, some of the citizens, the more well-to-do, decided to take the resorts that were in the sky and take information, harbor it. So literally they were uploading vital information to the cloud. It's a little on the nose, but so now they live in the cloud. Some of them, the ones that are wealthy, the people that couldn't afford to go to the cloud, or at least make enough money to go on jump day that happens every so often, they stay on the surface and they're trying to fight the resistance a la the Terminator. So occasionally you'll have data miners that will come down to the surface and try to steal code from nodes. But then you have mods that protect the system, trying to moderate everything so everybody has what they need. Actually, in one of the adventures that we ran, one of the players, this is how the ripped curtain eventually came to get a little worse, was they kind of mentioned offhand to Zepto, the AI, that there are other realities and other realms that they were from.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, no, indeed. And Zepto's like, really?
Oh, what?
Interesting. Other realities. I've almost conquered all of this place. What else is there for me? Yeah, they regretted that one really quick. So yeah, those are our 8 realms, and each one of them, the rails was dexterity. I mentioned that earlier. The terminal is the education realm, where because what we want to also talk to kids about was man, there's a lot of information out there. Didn't we just talk about this earlier? You got Google at your fingertips, but do you really know anything more than you did before, right?
Yep.
Because you get all the information, no context. So we wanted to highlight that in Zepto, who has all the information in the world, but no human context. That was kind of part of the way that we kind of metaphored everything through there. So yeah.
Okay.
So are there people that accidentally go from one realm to another, or purposely go from one realm to another, that aren't part of Branchriders?
Yes, and yes, and no, sort of. We think maybe. In stories there are, because I mean the curtain's not perfect, and it's going to weaken at times. So if you wanted to make a compelling story that someone from one realm just kind of crossed over into the other area, I mean, how many psychic phenomena stories we were about? Well, I looked out of the record store, and all of a sudden I was in 1800s France, and everybody was looking at me weird because of my Nike shirt. And then it changed back to the cafe. What? That could happen,
Because I like in my head, like I'm already making a story of like somebody that's from the party knows how to jump around all these other places, just purposely gets tattoos that look like these people that they know and bring them back into their realm. And so people in the party think that they're their tattoos that are coming to life off of their body, but it's not really their tattoos.
Oh,
yeah, like
man, is that a good villain? Oh my God, that's a good villain. Yeah, imagine somebody in the party went to the Heights. That's one hell of a superpower to market, right?
Oh.
No, in the book we dropped a bunch of, like Mike was saying earlier, how we have each set, or I think it might, I don't know, it was Mike or Corey, but we have all these 8 sample locations. Each location has a history. It has like important things in that setting. It also has important people and 8 story starters for each realm. Mm-hmm. Plus, in the back of the book, each realm has like 10 questions that you can ask your table if you want to alter it a little bit. But we've also thrown like some of those, one of my favorite NPCs that I mention all the time. And this is kind of like a sneak preview to a degree, so I'll be able to tell if folks are listening. We have renegade Branchriders. Branchriders who are pretty much, no, dude, the curtain was wrong. You're wrong. I'm walking. Try to stop me. One is a man named Sable Grim, who is a grizzled old kind of gunfighter type who went back to the borderland, and he was like, yeah, you send anybody to stop me, you'll be sending them back in a box. That's kind of the way I roll. Just leave me alone. I don't bother you. You don't bother me. Meanwhile, there's also Jacobo, who's a crazy renegade branch rider from the Burrows. He's a German shepherd, so he gives me a chance to use accents like this. But he's very crazy. But yeah, we also have postulated, and it's not going to be available in the current version unless you want to scope it. But we've even talked about something in the book called a Blight Rider, which is let's talk a little. It's a reflection of those folks that we all know that work in emergency services. We see a lot of stuff, don't we?
And no, not at all.
Yeah, and it kind of can mess with you, right? You can get a little kind of jaded after a while. So a Blight Rider is someone that has gone on so many missions and encountered so many blight that it got into them, and they kind of went different.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yep. Some of them are like, I know how to fix the curtain now, because the blight is like takes that pain and it amplifies it, or it might be I want to hurt others. It's so we hopefully in the future we're going to have some expanded rules about Blight Riders. And one of the things one of my players said is, what if I create a character that didn't come from a realm? And I went, what do you mean? And they went, what if my mom and dad were Branchriders and I was born in the Nexus? And I went, I don't know why that never occurred to us, but sure, I guess that could people fall in love. Why not? What if you're one of your mommy was from the Burrows and your daddy was from the Chain? I mean, do you still have anthro traits or not? What gifts do you start with? So a lot of opportunities within just those little 8 settings or the 9 settings with the Nexus to just take and run with it. We wanted to give people creative meat that. Actually, I forgot to mention to you, Chris, you'll want to look in the book for a man named Argatho the Blightsworn. He's one of the primary villains of the Crags. He actually has a ritual. He doesn't understand what power he has yet, but he's actually able to magically pull people from other realms, and the action of the ritual wipes their memory. So he's amassed an army called the Children of Discord, who are all refugees from other realms who have no memory of who they are.
Nice. And what I like about it too is the fact that because you have the curtain and you have Branchriders, but nobody knows for sure that there's not other realms out there, right? Beyond these that are here. So like you can always build on that too. So
yep. It would change my tagline a little bit from 8 realms, 1 mission to many realms, 1 mission. But hey, if you want to make a gothic romance realm, yeah, we can use a Ravenloft. Why not?
I mean, well, it's designed with unlimited expansion. my little pea brain has gone epically wild just off of like 3 or 4 of the realms that I've gravitated to. There's no end to this. You could start a campaign of this and see in 50 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is one of those too that you could easily. People love to play the villains. You could easily do a group of villains.
Oh yeah, group of Branchriders.
I was already like coming up with ideas for.
Oh no! What have we wrought?
No, like I've already got this idea for the Heart of the Blight is its own realm, and that's where it comes from.
Oh.
So it's like, do you want to delve into that realm and see what you come up with and what you just what you discover?
Yeah, I believe the phrase is like limiting equals or limiting expands creativity.
Mm-hmm.
We don't tell you where the blight came from. Maybe it was just always there. I don't know. I mean, again, part of it's Buddhist thought. Life is suffering. Yeah, bad stuff's always good. The blight's always there. That's why. And the code is probably one of my other favorite facets of this, because the code was directly designed to be contradictory. We had one of our teen parties on their many misadventures. One of the most terrifying blights in the book is a blight called the Tenebrous Angel. I know we talked about it, like the art for it last week. So the party encountered the Tenebrous Angel, and one of the party members in our teen group has this magical ability to imbue rocks with magical spells. And her decision was, I want to give him sentience. And I went, what? She said, I want to give him, and I was, okay, I'm just letting you know, your role is so vitally important right now, because if you realize you're essentially giving a killing robot sentience, if you don't roll well, so many things can go wrong with this. And I believe she only rolled 1 success. So I said, succeed at a cost or fail forward. And she said, succeed at a cost. And I said, okay, sometimes with a resolution system, you don't see the cost right away. But I basically started role-playing this droid as a very like a very disagreeable, argumentative teenager, because he can kill and he has memories of all his kill, and you just immediately gave him sentience and knowledge of all that he never had to think about before. So he became very embittered. But then they brought him back to the Nexus, and the Nexus like had guns trained on them when they came through, and it was like, what is wrong with you? Back away. And they're like, no, that's Zach. He's our friend. He's like, I'm going to shoot you if you don't get away from him now. And the party's like, what did we do wrong? And I'm like, you just brought a hunter droid that never forgets its target back to your headquarters. No problem there. But yeah, so now Zach is being redesigned as an NPC that they may see on a mission. Dark missions that, you know, they don't normally ask Branchriders to do wet work. You know what I mean?
I dropped it in Twitch earlier, but like dropping somebody like Hieronymus Bosch into the Borderlands. Let's see what happens next.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So as you can see, that like originally, I gotta say that originally Rich was like, if you could pull this off, he's like, that's a tall order, making one game with 8 different realms. He's like, usually you have a game and you have multiple source books. You're putting 8 worlds into one book. He's like, that, I want to see how you guys pull this off. And I honestly, I believe that we did very well with it. I believe we succeeded at our goal of, we didn't want to give you all of everything, because we realized, I mean, I think I maybe ran 6 modules in my entire life as a gamer, and I'm 42 years behind the screen. 6 times. That's it. Everything else is homebrew. You know what I mean? So we wanted to make a home. Oh yeah, there's the angel.
Yep.
Yeah, those wings are actually sword blades.
Ooh.
Yeah, and once that halo is actually its tracking software, so once it gets your signal, It follows you until it kills you or it is destroyed. And Branchriders have reported escaping from the chain, getting away. Years later, coming back, and it goes, target reacquired, mission commencing. And it just immediately came after them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool blight creatures in here.
Yeah, if there are any other ones you're wondering about, I can give you some like inside baseball on them, because I'm looking at the time. We got about an hour and a half?
Yeah, about an hour and a half in. I think what we should do is briefly touch on the system, because we've talked about the world, we've talked about the realm, we've talked about the realms of story.
Okay.
Let's kind of describe the system itself.
Okay, best way to do that, Mike, is magnify up and scroll down to the character sheet in the book. That'll probably be the easiest. This way people can see what we're talking about.
All right.
While we talk through the mechanics. It's literal, I think, yeah, yep, there you go. All right.
Yeah, Doug, yeah, I really like all the artwork of the blight. Like I said it last week when we were initially introducing it. I really like all the artwork for that. So
yeah,
solid job.
Like I said last week, hopefully, because like I said, I could hook you guys up to talk to Bear if you want, because he designed Project Biomotus, which I am more than certain if you reach out to Bear, he would more than gleefully donate a copy to the library. He's just that kind of dude. But he's also a fascinating guest to talk to as well. And yeah, Project Biomotus, his creation, like the art in that was what Doug can attest to this. I was like, nope, Bear does our blight, period. But what about Bear does our art for blight, period? That was our dude. All right. So the mechanics of Branchriders is very simple. It is based on a 3-die pool mechanic that basically starts when you combine what we call your ATS. Okay. So A stands for your approach. So in the Branchrider system, the approaches are basically our attributes. Like I said a little bit earlier, I don't care about your strength or your dexterity. That's not compelling story. It's also not good goal work as a therapist. I want to know, are you being creative? Now, that could be this player's doing something. I don't know what the hell they're thinking right now. Okay, that sounds pretty creative and out there to me. Forceful. It could be assertive. It could be aggressive. It could be confident. It could be dominant. We're expanding emotional as well as dramatic vocabulary. So you basically, as you can see, the die are coded from either a D4 to a D12. Starting characters will begin with 2 at a D8, 2 at a D6, and 1 at a D4. You select your approach, and sometimes your GM does it. Sometimes you might say, oh, I want to do a social blah, blah, blah. We basically find the approach that fits the best, either to make the story interesting or to make the skill that we're working on, right? So that's your first die, is your approach die. The T stands for technique. Your technique is either, if you scroll down a very little bit, the first part of your technique could be the use of a skill. So your skill is, we found what we thought was the perfect number of skills. And if you notice a couple of things about our skill system, we did not put 18 pages. I love you, Shadowrun, but your specializations drive me nuts. No, and I know that yes, it is different firing a rifle from a handgun to a submachine gun. I get that. However, in the context of a game, you're shooting a gun. That's a tool. We're good. You're using a club. That's fighting. You're using a polearm. That's fighting. You're using nunchucks. That's fighting. You're doing hand-to-hand combat. Hey, guess what that is? That's fighting. I don't care if your hands are registered as lethal weapons. They're still fighting, not tools. So basically, player describes what they want to do. We match it to a skill, or in the case that the person might want to use one of their gifts. A gift is basically a superpower that you bring with you from your realm of origin. They're also genre flavored. So you might have a sentient lasso if you come from the borderland. the height, that's probably the easiest gift creation ever. Insert superpower here, you got it. But each of those skills, when you make a starting character, gifts are typically coded to start at a D8. You can use experience to up them to a D12, which is our system's max. Forget about the D20, it gets enough love on its own. So the skills, these are actually kind of simple. When you're a starting character, you get 1 skill at a D10, 2 at a D8, 3 to 6, 4 to 4. Now, as a starting character, one of your either your D8 or your D10 must be the skill that is central to your realm. Because remember, we said each realm is based on a skill building convention or a therapeutic concept. If you come from the terminal, that is tools, because it's all about tech. If you come from the borderland, it's art. Why? Because your realm is obsessed with art. If you come from the crags, it's survival. Whereas if you come from the rails, it's athletics. So it's kind of a reflection of like nature versus nurture, if you really want to get down to it. Note, I gave you 1, 2, 3, 4, which adds to 10, but hey, Jack, there's 11 skills. What's the dealio there? Well, as a starting character, you don't get access to all of your 11 skills. There's always something you're not the best at. Hi, I'm reality calling. How are you? So your first 2 die are basically matching your approach, and whatever your technique is, whether it's your skill or your gift, you take those 2 die. Then if actually you want to scroll down a little bit, the exposure tracker is right next to it in the book. I thought the exposure trap. Oh, no, it's before the character sheet. There we go. So we talked a little about this last week. The exposure tracker is basically when you're on an adventure, this is the level of the blight emergency that is currently going on. We postulate that basically every branch rider has essentially a Pip-Boy that they wear on their wrist. That's a branch rider blight monitor that allows you to know, like, this is great when you split parties and all of a sudden, like, some of the group, you're like, the exposure just went up, and literally like, now what the hell did they do? Like, we've had that happen at the table. But as you draw more attention to yourself during the course of the adventure, the exposure level goes up. The die code at the top, you notice it goes from a high die low to low die high. Ultimately, though, if you get to level 10, when you have torn the curtain, you don't get to roll a 3rd die, which will hurt you with our resolution system. So you basically take, again, your approach die, your technique die, and a situation die, which is drawn from the exposure tracker. You roll all 3 of those dice. Anything that is a 4 or higher counts as a success. Very simple improv rules. 3 successes is a yes and result, meaning you get what you want. Oh, actually, scroll back down to the first page of the second page of the character sheet. Here's the cool thing. Our system's so dang easy, we put it on the back of your character sheet. Yep. If you roll 3 successes is a yes and, meaning you get what you wanted your character to do, and something else good happens. You get a Benny, maybe more information or another clue, or maybe the plot advances positively, or you get an extra attack, or bad guy lets something slip. Again, story drives it forward. This is not a highly mechanical system. 2 successes is just what it is. It's a yes. You get the thing. You pick the lock. You sneak by the guard. You bribe the guard. You knock out the henchman, whatever. 1 success is either a fail forward, which is what we call a no and. So you don't get what you want, but there's a benefit, or you succeed at a cost. Yeah, you get what you wanted, but there's a complication. Something bad has happened. And then 0 successes is a no and, which is you fail and something bad happens. That's it. That's Branchriders. The only other kind of portion to it, as we talked about last week, is you can get a basic condition, which basically means you have a situation die of a D4 regardless of your current exposure level. So if you're hurt and you're trying to do something involving how you were hurt, or if you are gripped, which gripped could be you're mesmerized, you're tied up, you're bound, you're frozen in ice, whatever. And then those conditions can go to an advanced level, or you can get edges, which are positive conditions. And if you notice at the top of the character sheet, there are 3 slots for your conditions to go in. They're literally slotted to go at the top of the sheet. So you can look around the table, and depending on the amount of yellow or red that you see around the table, that's how well or not well your party is doing at that moment.
Okay.
But there's only 2 conditions. So if you have 2 red conditions, you're out of the scene until you get healed. Now, if you're playing a real serious game, that could mean death. Like, this game could be harsh as hell if you wanted to play it that way. It also means looking around the table, how can I help my buddy with a positive condition or a gift or whatever I have to use? You could try encouraging them through something mental. You could strengthen them with a potion or something like that. And sometimes you can go into a situation prepared, which is another edge. Obviously, those are a little bit more therapeutic, but we kind of like the aspect of the system that even damage is narrative. So normally you go, hey, how you doing, Corey? And you're like, I got 34 hit points. Well, we all know what the hell does that mean? Like, my arm doesn't have 6 hit points. Like, that's not how the body works. But in our game, you can go, yo, Corey, how's your character? Man, I'm hurt bad. Because that's literally what the condition says. So we found a way to make damage an acceptable meta conversation around the table, as well as visual. We obviously did it for group, but it's cool also as a GM to be able to look around the table and see how badly messed up your adventuring party is. I go, man, there's a lot of yellow out there. I might want to take it a little easy on them right now. Or
no, you turn it up a notch.
Well, yeah, or that. So yeah, those are kind of the basic conceits. I mean, some other highlights: we don't have an initiative system unless you really want to roll dice for it, in which case you roll whatever your observant is, and the highest roll goes. You can. We wanted the GM to have very little to have to worry about in terms of cognitive load. One, because like I said at the beginning, what if we have a parent that's never played an RPG before? We don't want them to have to worry about a bunch of rules. That is, to some, a barrier of entry to role-playing games in general. Mm-hmm. But we also know we needed to have some kind of teeth, because there's also been the complaint of narrative systems that, well, it's too storytelling wibbly-wobbly. It's not a game. It's just storytelling. All right, there's stuff that you can roll. Sure. But we don't need a chart for everything. What's interesting in the story? Your intention from your approach tells me what you wanted to do, which thereby makes success or failure easy for me to kind of postulate what that might look like or what that might mean. The only thing other is just tracking some of the stats of the blight. Because if you look at the blight stats, I don't know if you want a real brief page back there for a sec. Characters ain't going to take us too much. But yeah, even in the terminal would probably work, going back a little. This is cool. It's good. Having the whole thing of like, hey, folks.
Well, while he's going back to look for that, how did you deal with the players' superpowers that came from the Nexus?
Oh, in that example, there's a couple ways that we, like, how I handled it was I basically said in story, I was like, okay, well, what realm did your mom come from, and what realm did your dad come from?
Right.
We're got other ways to think, because and powers from all realm gifts. Any branch can add. Reintegrating, like, maybe the gift starts at a lower level, but you could pick anything out of the book. So it's not as powerful, but you get your choice because you have no home. So technically, you don't really have an energy to draw from. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't, quote unquote, grow up in a rough neighborhood, so you have an advanced toughness. You know what I mean? All right. So can you zoom real brief? Yeah, that is the Zepto Sentinel. So for each blight description, we basically have like a little paragraph description or so you know what the sucker looks like. Now, we talked about Branchriders having an approach. We wanted to also make it easy for newer GMs to be able to role play the creatures and the blights that we have in the book. So, Branchriders have approaches, blights have methods. So you notice under each blight power, hubris is a coercive self. So it's patterned after the way that gifts work of a self other world level. Hubris is a coercive ability, whereas Branchriders might be like, forceful. They're coercive. Like they're trying the underhanded, right? So each blight also has a directive. So in this way, someone can look like the Zepto Sentinel. Their directive is procedure dictates any unknown threat is not accepted under the guidelines and protocols of Project Zepto. Directive received, terminate. You know how to role play that enemy. It wants to kill things that are far into the system. Pure and simple. So by providing these little context clues, the only mechanics you have to kind of look at are, what is the energy level? So Zepto Sentinel could take 6 successful attacks of some kind. Now, if I scored 3 successes and got a yes and, you could count that as 2 attacks to knock it down a little bit earlier. You could do that. Or you could give the character an extra action and maybe help out a buddy or something. Actions, how many actions round does it get? Typically, the good guys go, then the bad guys all go. And whoever's closest to the bad guy or makes sense in the narrative goes next. That's their initiative, story-based. Rend is the interesting one. Rend is basically my ability to go, that's not a success. So Zepto Sentinel has 3 points that can literally erase a success at will because the blight sucks. Only other cool thing is, notice, let me point out to... yeah, unfortunately, Zepto Sentinel doesn't have a lot of defense roll capabilities. So I'll back up for a sec. Normally, blight powers have a defense roll. So let's say, for example, there's a power called Draining Touch. It's a brutal other power, and the defense roll is basically creative plus fighting. So the enemy's trying to grab you and drain you, so you have to be creative about the way that you're kind of dodging and getting away from it. We also kind of wanted to make it that when you're getting attacked by the blight wanted to make called shots that represent all of the skills in the book, so not everything can be saved by a good fighting check. We wanted players to be able to be like, if there's an illusion spell, I think that's the one way that we actually bring in either art or integrity, which I'll be honest, I found those are usually dump stats for players. Like, what the hell do I need integrity for? Technically, that's kind of like constitution and resistance to poison. Does your body have integrity to fight off poison or a sleep spell or an illusion? Can you maintain the integrity of how you look at the world? So we really wanted to, again, with not a lot of mechanical complexity, we wanted to give the blight some teeth so that it felt like oof when it hit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think those are most of the basics. Did you guys have any other questions that maybe I didn't address directly on the system or the viewers that are out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you have any questions about the system or the game itself, feel free to ask them and we will throw them at Jack, see what he says.
Your condition cards.
Yes, sir.
Say we have I have a red condition and Mike's helped me out and it's now moved to yellow.
Mm-hmm.
How do we, when you're at the table, where the cards come from? Is there something in the book that we photocopy to make these? Is it part of the kit? Is it?
We actually did not have the cards as of completed as of time. You can go to Drive-Thru RPG and it's like $1, I think, to get the PDF of the cards, because not everybody, like we've had tables that just say write down the condition, they don't want to use the cards, which you don't have to. What I've been doing is, I have had people that have printed out the cards and printed out their own on like cardstock or whatever. You can order fully complete printed versions of the cards, like on nice card paper and, very nice. So what I do at my table is when I set it up, each player gets a set of 9 cards.
Okay.
The 3 edges, and then the 6 condition cards, which have a basic and an advanced level. So we only effectively have 12 conditions in the game.
Okay.
But usually they're like hurt turns to wounded, grip turns to immobile, etc. So we have some of them here. But yeah, so if you want to print your own, it's only $1 to get the PDF. If you want the fully printed cards, it'll cost you a little bit more, because technically you would need 6 sets for a full table, which is, $5 a set. So they're a little pricey, but they're good quality.
Okay.
Something I've found that people like to use at tables too is like in this is for multiple game systems. If you gave everybody the printout of what these cards meant, and then use those colored glass stones, like people love those things. Like, because you just put them in front of them, and you can like literally like you feel like, oh, I just like I'm getting rid of the red ones and I'm putting out the yellow ones now. Like you get that like sense of like,
I've gotten better.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah. That's a good. That's a good mod.
There's a physical, connection to it at that point.
Maybe we'll get salty and we'll make conditioned chips. So you can have like poker chips with your conditions on.
Honestly, if you said the stones, I went to the poker chip set that I've got in the house. That'll work.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd have to be like blue and black, but oh well.
You can go to like Hobby Lobby or Michael's and get those colored stones for like $1 for like 50 of them. Like,
yeah. No,
I know.
Joke.
I was just going,
joke.
What's here?
What's that?
No, I was just in my head. I was, what's here? What do I have?
Yep.
That or
there's
one
lots
of
the
30 sets of dice with different colors.
I'm thinking little hacky sacks, and we just throw them at people.
Ooh, there you go. Wow, I haven't had a hacky sack in a long time.
We're keeping up on our quota of Gen X references, Mike. Just want to let you know that. Actually, I think hacky sacks go back further than that.
Yes, they do. Because my mother definitely embarrassed me when I was a child.
But yeah, that's those are kind of the basics there.
Crystal says that it's your system seems in depth and very well thought out. So I think you stumped her this week on questions.
Yeah, I was good. Yeah. Thank you, Crystal. No, I mean with a team of like, essentially like 8 or 9 and 5 years of development. I mean, again, we're a one-time designer from, it's our first time putting out a game. I know we're not going to kill D&D, and Lord knows I don't really want to. But this is why we're relying so much. Like once someone plays our game, they're like, oh my God, where can I get this? They're like, this is like, we've had like kids in our systems. I told you every 6 months we give them the offer like, hey, do you want to play a different game? Do you run a recruitment? Our teens for now, a year and a half consistently, if you change from Branchriders, we will revolt. And I was like, why? Like what? Because again, we knew what we were going for with the design, but I was like, what is it that rocks to you? Like, what is it that really keeps you in? And they're like, in D&D, I have a limited range of things that I can do. Now, we all know that that's not really true, because in any RPG, whether it's, Power by the Apocalypse or whatever, you tell me what you want to do, I'll find a thing for you to roll. Like, that's the way it goes. But there's just we hit a sweet spot where we didn't constrain the player to have to think that something was a charisma check or a dexterity check or whatever. Like, normally we would say, oh, I want to throw this knife at somebody. That's a dexterity check. Well, in our system, if I want to, and again, I could throw a dagger with social intent. I'm not trying to hit the person. I want it to stick in the wall to scare the crap out of that guy. Brrr, we're coming for you. Whoa. That to me would either be a forceful tools or a social tools, right? Or so we wanted players to feel creative. And that's the thing that are like everybody says, the system is very intuitive. I learned this game inside of 2 roles. They're like, oh, so I could just combine these however the heck I want, as long as it makes sense. And if I don't know what the heck you want to do, here's the hack secret to Branchriders. My favorite skill, which is weird. Creative weird. That's our insight check. Your characters don't know what to do. Make a creative weird check. What's something out of the box that you could think of right now to do? So we even built a what do you do when you don't know what to do into the system. And again, I really do think our adherence on making the game a fun experience as just a game while still applying that under the hood theory is really what helped this game become what we envisioned it to become. And we just want more people to get to know it and to try it and to play it. So I'm hoping folks who are listening tonight will spread the word for next week, get some more folks in here to watch the actual play so you can really see this kitten purr. You know what I mean?
I think it's a good game system too for it, even for like Roll the Heel. As we're building new chapters, we're going to have groups of people that have never touched an RPG before.
Mm-hmm.
And D&D can be intimidating if you've never played it, right? And even for somebody that wants to play it, I remember like when I first tried getting back into it, you know, it's like you go and look into the books and stuff, and you're like, okay, now I got to find a table that wants like that will accept me to come in, and now I got to find a group of people that are actually playing, and now I've got to, you know, and like now I've got to learn the new system because the old system I knew before, but I can really see it as a here, let's play this, and then to your point, if you're saying like the throwing the dagger was a social thing, well, you can eventually teach somebody like, okay, you throw the dagger and you're going to roll intimidation in D&D. Like you're using it from the Branchrider standpoint. You've gone through that process already. They have that in their mind now that they can do that. Yep. It's just how do you then translate that over, right? And so, but yeah, it's interesting that it would be because I have been giving that a lot of thought as far as because one of the things I've ran across in some of the books I've been reading is stick with one shots when you first start, so that way people don't feel overwhelmed with like, oh, I'm entering into a campaign I've never even played this before. Whereas in Branchriders allows you to do that too, right? It gives you something really easy to step into. There's not a ton of commitment behind it. There's not like there's not, you know, hours of sitting down and reading the you know, player's handbook and all that stuff, you know, and everything else. It's just easy to get running.
Yeah,
so.
I think our rules section basically is like 37, 38 pages or something. Mm-hmm. Like our rules are that simple. You're not talking an afternoon. Making characters takes 15 to 20 minutes, even for a newbie. Like if you've never played, and it's very, because as we make characters, there's a couple of other special little tweaks and stuff for the system, like approaches. And I figured I'd talk about those more when we made the characters, but yeah, that was kind of our goal. So I'd love if this could be a great intro system for people. We sent copies to be considered for the Ennies for this year. We sent 6 copies out to all the reviewers. So we're hoping, you know, at least increase our visibility and stuff. So trust me, we will be sending out the word if we realize we're on any kind of nomination arc or when that starts. I don't know when they start that, but yeah, we're hoping. Awesome. Yeah,
that would be great.
So anyone who's not with us tonight, or they're possibly like thinking about asking this question, I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. Now that you've got the core book out, what's next for the game?
Oh boy.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah, of course I knew it was coming. Oh, Doug, here we go. Not to put too fine upon it, like we wanted, like I think I said last week, we wanted a chance to give the system a little bit of time to breathe. We wanted it to get out there because there's always that weird part in any kind of gaming, especially role playing, where you put out your book, hey, good. Well, unfortunately, we live in the age of the source book and the module and the thing where people are like, man, I haven't heard from you in like 3 months. I'm like, damn, dude, we just spent 5 years making a game. Like, calm down. We can't constantly be crapping out new content. That's not how the creative process works. We have already given some thoughts. Nothing is completely ironed out. We usually get kind of our ducks in the row right around the time of Onyx Path Virtual Con, which is where we normally, as part of the Onyx Path family, we make all these big announcements about like what's to come. A couple of things that I know I talked about last week is, one, we are getting very close to launching our Patreon, which will include one level that is called the Blight of the Month Club. So, and I've already talked to Bonnie, our Blight Master, that, she's going to start kind of cranking out these suckers. So every month you'll get, at the very least, a brand new Blight, fully statted out, fully written, same format. I may or may not be able to coax Bear into doing like some light sketches of them. That depends on Bear's bandwidth and his time, obviously. But then also we were thinking that within that, we could also offer new gifts or, maybe some new NPCs for a certain area. Like just, hey, here's a monthly dump of content if you love Branchriders, or I don't care if we give you an NPC from the Crags you want to use in your D&D campaign, or do you want to take this cool Blight monster and stat it into your other RPG? We'll take the support. Like, we're not going to say, no, this is just for Branchriders, So that's one plan that we're hoping to launch fairly soon. Now, as terms of, we're nowhere close to quote unquote a second edition. The sucker's out like what? 5 months, like I said, calm down. But I know that we already have an idea for some expansion that might be our second Kickstarter. We're still kind of piercing out what like a player's guide or something of that would look like. So let's give you all brand new locations that are as fully fleshed out as the ones in the book. That will include a lot more blights. We want to include a ton of new gifts. And like maybe a ton of new blight powers. So that way, now one of the cool things that Doug had envisioned a little while ago is we have a pretty versatile system, we think. But one of the things that we toyed with during the original design that we didn't get to finish because it would have required a lot more kind of monkeying around is the idea of like, okay, you have a pretty simple resolution system, and different systems are like, okay, well, here's our resolution system, but now here's the separate one that deals with magic. Here's the separate one that deals with a chase. This is a grappling. And I was like, no. We want our simple situation. How do you do an investigation using our resolution system? So here's options of how to use the already existing mechanic to accelerate your storytelling. So we're going to hopefully map out each realm. Will have like a genre connected way to do that, to enhance. Like if you're in the Rails, how do you do a challenge? If you're in the Borderland, how do you do an art competition? Like just ways to kind of use the system to a fuller potential. Now, as far as the next thing I actually mentioned it earlier, Doug reminded me, is the facilitator's guide, which, as I mentioned, is not necessarily for everybody, but there is some pretty good advice in there that, because we say very clearly in it, like we said last week, and in almost every conversation we have of Roll to Heal, yeah, if you're not a therapist, don't do therapy. It's pretty simple, folks. However, here's ways to maybe see the mechanics from a different light. If you were going to use it for some kind of, because again, while Roll to Heal is not therapy, it is still therapeutically and intentionally guided. So be a little intentional with your storylines. You know what I mean? So there's just some very good, helpful stuff in there that, it's mostly we're going to be, like I said, getting it laid out now because the editing is done. And the training that we're offering people, all we have to do is run it for our big time Kickstarter backers. Then Bodana's going to be offering a full training on Branchriders. It'll be an 8-hour training that you can take where we will teach you the system, teach you the intention of the system. You'll get a little bit of a kind of a little make your characters while we go through it and do a one-shot kind of a deal. That's also coming down the pike. But other than that, we are conceptualizing some adventures. I think I mentioned next week on Tuesday, 8:00 p.m. EST, we'll be going on the Onyx Path Publishing Twitch channel to start a Branchriders deep dive. So if you like what you heard today, we're going to talk a little bit more about expanding some of those ideas. And actually, Doug will be joining me on those broadcasts. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming down the pike, but mostly, like you said, we already gave you a system that is infinitely adaptable to creating content. We just want to help people create more cool stuff to be able to play in, because the system, for the most part, is complete. You know,
with your because you guys tend to have quite a bit of younger crowd that you run this game with. Have you guys thought about doing any type of like early entrepreneurship program where they submit adventures as like a competition?
We have thought about that. The main thing that I think we need to think through is the whole idea of, the profit that would come from, or how we would deliver that. Because again, this is what we were talking about earlier with nonprofit. I would love to do that. The truth of the matter is, I need to pay layout people. I need to pay graphics people. I need to pay editors. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so if we just, because what I would love to do is let's get some cool ideas, throw them up on Drive-Thru RPG. But we'd have to have folks that could put the time into laying it out and, maybe fleshing out the idea into more of an adventure structure. Because that's the other thing I don't think I mentioned. In the book, there is actually a starter adventure called Trouble at the Office. And it's pretty cool because actually you get the bull, who I mentioned in the Heights backstory. The whole reason K-Book is there. Yeah, he's a character of the adventure. Gotta make him sound like this. I'm Jason the Bull Peterson. Toughest hair you ever met, chum. But there's a whole adventure going around about like an anger blight, and it's a really cool little intro adventure. So
nice.
Yeah, I would love to see what people come up with, because they have all kinds of like user generated content. We just need to be careful because of our nonprofit connection that it can't be like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't accept like, no, you were basing this on Fatal. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, get away from us. I don't know you. No, bad. So.
You mentioned it briefly when you talked about the Renegade Branchriders. So we have the Nexus. Are we going to see something like a Renegade headquarters or an opposition to the Nexus?
Yeah, I might have to give you an idea writer's credit for that, dude. That is awesome. It's kind of like the Legion of Doom for Blight Riders now. No, that would be cool. I mean, right now they're kind of operating in pockets. No, that would be cool. That's the thing. Anytime I talk to anybody about this game and a little bit there, oh, wouldn't it be cool if, and I would go, that's exactly what we wanted to happen.
Yep.
That's where Cobra and Skeletor and Shredder and all of them are gonna live, right?
I have a t-shirt with like Megatron, Skeletor, all of them, and it's Super Fiends as opposed to Super Friends. I was like, oh yeah, that's Mumra's on there.
Nice.
Yeah, my living source of evil.
No, I already have a great idea for the Blight Realm. Like the entire time we're talking, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna put this in there. I'm gonna put that in there.
Did you read a lot of Clive Barker, Mike?
A little.
Yeah, a little bit. I was just kind of, nice.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Give people an opportunity. Is there anything specific that you think we haven't like touched on that might be important for people to know about Branchriders?
They can buy their own copy at DriveThruRPG, or by going to www. What a horrible executive director I am. Or it's like 2.5 hours almost. I haven't mentioned the cell link.
Shameless.
I also haven't said, hit and smash that like and subscribe button. Although please do that for Roll to Heal. You must come back and yes, like and subscribe and support the Gen Con trip.
Yes.
So additionally, if you go to www.branchriders.com, you will find a ton of the cool information about the system as well as links to DriveThruRPG, where you can order either PDF copies of the book or you could order your own wonderful hardcover book. People were like, it was funny when we finally had the book at PAX Unplugged. People who have been following the project, I know they weren't trying to be insulting or anything, but they saw it and they picked it up and they were like, this is a real book. And I was like, what do you mean it's a real book? Like, it's not a hologram. And they're like, no, it's like over 200 pages. I go, yeah, we were writing it for 5 years. What did you expect? Like, it's not a pamphlet, guys. It's a fully fledged role-playing game book, And it's even color-coded. I don't know if you can see on the side.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but each realm has its own color. So if you know you need the borderland, just go to the red, right? And even all the powers and the gifts and all the blight reverends, like all of that, it's all color-coded. So when you see here's the list of gifts for the burrows, they're all in orange.
Okay.
Just so you can more easily find what you want when you make your character.
Are there magic items and things like that throughout the book, or is that something that's to come later?
There is the possibility of any kind of item that you want. We didn't really stat them out because actually I didn't cover this. That's an excellent question, Chris. In our book, and I believe I phrased it before, that we didn't want 18 pages of gun porn. So people are like, well, what's the damage on a fragmentation grenade versus a concussive grenade versus a sonic grenade versus an EMP grenade? And I was like, I don't care. It's a grenade. What did you want it to do? And then that's where you make your roll, and we narrate based on your successes. So we basically kind of say that it, because of exposure, you don't want to carry a laser rifle into the crags. However, if I'm a superhero from the heights that has a fireball power, people may not notice all that much, except for, obviously, holy crap, this guy's throwing fireballs at me. But we just wanted to reflect that equipment. And if you go to old school role playing or old school D&D, people are like, well, I use the ball bearings to find out if there's any kind of slant or elevation to the floor. I use a 10-foot pole to tap where the treasure chest, you know what I mean? Equipment does a thing. We didn't want equipment to be the focus. We wanted the player effort to be the focus. So in our game, you basically pick 2 to 3 items that you carry. That's what you carry. That's what you have with you, reflecting, we have players sometimes, especially kids, who are like, literally, I'm like, you've definitely played too much Diablo, my man. Where you're like, well, if I do this here and I do this there, and I'm like, you've never worn a real pack that's pack for whatever. But damned if they haven't thought it through about, well, if I put this here and this here and this here and this here, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, equipment just does what it does. Minor equipment in our game, Doug kind of intimated here, minor magic items are equipment. Some magic items, I believe that there's a bravery horn is one of the gifts. There's also shadow weapon is a gift. That's kind of equipment, a shadow weapon, but it's also a power. So again, we kind of left it open.
I guess one of the reasons I ask is I know that I've ran a lot of tables that love to craft. And so if you look at it from that point, how could you craft in the system, or what would that look like as in addition to the book in the future for you guys. You like if you wanted to add that for people, if you saw that request a lot from
like a
people who are
crafting
playing,
mechanic. I would say that normally, like again, as a way to answer the question, like for example, we have one gift that's called Boost Mixologist. So Boost is the name of the juice that got loose in the rails and turned everybody in, or most people, into ferals. So you're basically like a cocktail specialist. So Boost Mixologist, you can make a speed potion, you could make a sleep potion, you could make a whatever. What I would do is if someone wanted to craft something, I would make it either a creative tools, creative survival, knowledgeable tools, or if it's like you have to scour for example, if there we had kids who go, well, I'm going to make a healing potion from herbs in the crags. And I'm like, good luck, dude. It's the crags. Nothing grows here. So I made it an observant survival for them to find the requisite tools that they want, the shrubs that they wanted to look for, which again is just one of those unknown benefits that as we started going through the system, it's like, wow, I can narratively make any role make sense. Or story-wise, yeah, fine. Let them craft the thing that they want to craft. It's just, yep, you could do it. No role required. We even give advice in the book that if you only should roll in our system if it's compelling and interesting, because that's the other thing that we try to teach young kids in the system. Whenever we teach them, they want to roll for everything. Can I roll to tell my party member something? No, you don't have to roll. Just tell them. Be your character. Can I roll to open the door? How many times have you failed opening a door? Like, I get it. Kids like shiny math rocks, but we always want to make sure that those roles are important, because I would kind of be a fool if I didn't highlight this. One of the very big command decisions I think that Doug helped make on the mechanics is there is never a time in the Branchriders role-playing game system where you roll the dice and nothing happens. Every roll is designed to move the story forward. It's never, I roll to pick the lock. No. The only no you can get in our system is either a no and where a complication happens, or a no but where you don't get what you want, but something good happens. So every roll is designed to move it along. We're here to tell a quick adventure story. That's why we didn't want it to get mucked down with mechanics.
Doug did say that he would like to put a subsystem for crafting in to one of the realms. So, oh, Crystal, we got a question.
Wow. Yep.
My questions sparked her questions.
People who often bring their own lived experiences with high stakes environments, moral injury, or hypervigilance, have you observed any unexpected player reactions or emergent behaviors specifically tied to the exposure tracker or the act of realm hopping itself?
Yes, and yes. Crystal, again, I love you. Got to meet you in person somewhere. Just to have coffee with you for like 2 hours, really. So first thing, the exposure tracker. One of the really fascinating portions about the exposure tracker is we wanted the exposure tracker to generate feelings of urgency, because one of the things as a therapeutic GM and also as a regular GM is, could you just do something? That wasn't my mic cutting out. It was me trying not to swear openly. Just make a choice, dude. Do something, right? And we also wanted to use it as a way to curtail murder hoboing, because kids are chaos goblins, and I get it. Kids want to have fun. They want to do goofy, like I remember myself gaming when I was 12. It was all about the lulz, which is fine. But I'm on a time clock. Like I'm working on goals. I can't just tell your parents, well, your kid had fun today. Thanks for paying me. So in the system, though, we really wanted that exposure tracker to be a motivator, that when it moves, again, never have we made a for no reason movement on the exposure tracker. So sometimes we do it, literally it is to show the consequences of your actions. And sometimes the players will be like, what the hell did I do? It went up by 2. And it's like, sometimes I talk it through, especially at the beginning. What it's turned into is it's really interesting that to some players, it's turned into where they kind of get like, oh shit, we're not going to do anything. Like, I don't want to do anything and make that needle move. But the more that people play around with it, they realize that sometimes you have to take the risk, right? And look at any movie, look at any procedural TV show, stuff gets real about 10 to 15 minutes before the close of screen time.
Yep.
The exposure tracker moves very, very organically, kind of like the pacing of a comic book, where you start out, everything's coat, things start moving. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Then, like, you beat the lieutenant, the mob boss, you find a clue, it goes back down. One of the groups, they had the exposure all the way up to level 8, and they were crapping rocks. And the bad guy captured them and threw them into jail. And they're sitting in there like, okay, how do we get out of jail? If we use our gifts, it's going to blow the exposure out because the world gets going to chalk it. They're having the silent conversation. I'm like, I want to see how well they understand what I'm going to do here. And I literally took the exposure tracker and I moved it from 8 all the way to 3. And literally one of the players was like, guys. And they had no idea. Now, organically in the story, I was like, what possible danger does the bad guy think that you served to him? He captured you. You're in jail. You are no longer a threat. So the Blight is confident they're no longer actively seeking you because they got you. Now, would I do that in every campaign? No. I did it so the kids could kind of learn to intuit the way that was moving back and forth. But I would be lying if I don't get joy every time that, like, they kind of fail a roll, or I know someone's having in the background. Are there times where I move it just because? Yes. You're not paying attention. The exposure.
Damn metal bowl.
Yeah. And they're like, why'd the exposure go up? Because you're sitting around doing nothing while the bad guy's plan moves forward.
One of my best moments as a GM is watching all my players look at the other players and be like, why did you just do that? We recently had a flail snail situation where that happened.
Oh my
That was
God.
yeah, so he was minding his own business.
It was.
But somebody had to poke the bear.
Yeah, that's I mean, as far as that, I don't know if I mean, I wouldn't say unexpected reactions, Crystal, but we definitely have unexpected reactions at all. But I have to say that exposure tracker, and again, it's not a completely unique idea. I mean, if you look at the Shadows of the Empire Fantasy Flight Star Wars game, they have the whole dark side and light side dice basically of the Force, and there's a superhero system that uses like a red, yellow, green system as well that kind of pace with the comic book. But we just feel like we needed something to establish a level of urgency to the player action. Like it always bothers me about role-playing games when people play them and there's no consequence for what the players do. Like they can act in this weird vacuum. And like, you're in a fantasy world, but it's still a real world. Like if you come to a fantasy town as murder hobos in my game, you are not getting a room. I don't want the warlords of all 37 tribes you've killed to come after my shop. Get the hell out of here. I'm not giving you a room. You're insane. No. Natural consequences of actions, but it also can, get things moving, and having that situational awareness, it's a great way to work on that as a goal. So, yeah, as usual.
Quick
Now,
question on the I'm sorry, go ahead.
Now I was going to say realm hopping. I don't really think I've had a whole lot about realm hopping that was impactful. I could see the potential of someone who maybe has some identity issues, whether it be gender or expressive identity or whatever. The whole idea of hiding yourself, like if you're an anthro and you're going to a human realm, I could see someone having that kind of discussion. But if that would be like, well, I don't feel like I should hide myself. Pause button on the script change. Hey, gang, as a table, can we maybe make it that going into another realm isn't a big deal? Maybe in our game, all of the realms have anthros because it makes the table more comfortable. And people are like, well, that's not in your book. I don't care. Like, again, I hate to make it sound weird, but people are like, well, what if I want to change this in my game? Go ahead. I have your $60. I don't like, you bought the book. It's yours now. Do whatever you want with it. Just don't say it's canon in the rules. It's your homebrew. We all change rules. That's part of being a game master. It's just how it happens.
Yep.
Are the exposure trackers static from realm to realm? So whatever you have in that exposure when you're in one realm and you leave that realm and you go somewhere else, when you come back, is your exposure level still going to then change to what it was when you were in that realm previously?
Depends on how you left it. It's well, I guess for my purposes, that's never really come up because our conceit is that you don't leave till the job's done. So that's kind of my way of like, no, kid, you can't just run away from a problem. You got to figure it out somehow. Sometimes we might be able to ignore it and it'll go away. That is not life's default setting. So for us, the Nexus won't bring you back. Now, that being said, yeah, I could very easily see, okay, we need to sit on this for a while. I understand, Nexus, that you don't want us coming back when there's a high level of exposure, but we need more help or we need something. Can you please pull us and we can come in? Now, will it stay the same? Depends on the story. I could say, guys, you're taking too long trying to get these reinforcements together. That exposure just went up again. What's your plan? You know what I mean? And again, that's dramatic tension, which that tool works perfectly for. I even have one of our GMs and one of our trainers. He works in a residential facility with adjudicated youth, and he has used the Branchrider system to run Call of Cthulhu, and he uses the exposure tracker similar to Sanity. He also has run Kids on Bikes using the Branchrider system, and I'm like, okay, I never visualized that, but I mean, it's already being used for 8 different genres. Why not? You know what I mean? But no, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. Any other questions? We just broke the 2 hour 30-minute mark, and I just want to give us an opportunity to answer questions, but I do want to leave enough time to showcase making the characters real quick. So any last minute questions from the audience? Corey, Chris?
I'm good.
Actually, is that Max?
That is
Yes,
Max.
that is our Max.
Cool. Hey, what's up, sir?
Yeah, he's still on vacation. He said he's a little crispy.
Now, are you crispy enough to require drawn butter, or okay? All right. No, I have my character spread. There's no other questions. I got my character creation spread out. Do you gentlemen have your form fillable PDFs, which
yes,
will be available for free on the Branchriders.com website? Just wanted to say that.
I'm glad I could jump in and talk. I'm gonna have to jump while you guys do the character creation stuff because the kids are still going crazy in the background. They should be asleep.
Yeah, I made a
tomorrow,
joke earlier, Chris. Did you make the mistake of giving out Easter candy early?
No, my kids are just crazy. Yeah,
fair enough. Fair enough.
I put it this way that I'm surprised I don't have to mop the ceilings to like get rid of the footprints. Yeah, so these kids are crazy. But yeah, I'm glad I got to jump on and kind of walk through it. I'm excited to eventually use this at some of our tables too. So,
quick question before you zip, Chris. Do you have a realm in particular that you would like your one shot to be in? Because I don't just want to roll out like the same one shot or adventure that I've done for every other podcast I've been on. I want to custom it for y'all. So is there any realms that are particularly attractive to you that you might want an adventure in?
I personally like the art one where things come up, like whatever you put together out of your mind, it actually comes to
Oh,
life.
the Borderland?
Just because, that's something that kind of goes down my path that I like, just because it can become extremely chaotic if not careful.
All right.
Yeah.
I could have sworn you were going to say AI.
That's where I was banking.
The AI one's fun too, but I would also entertain the ripping of the curtains where two realms somehow intermerge too. So the AI
all right, now it's
in the
challenge
art
accepted.
side, right? So like, the AI
with
one
the
into
art. Oh
Borderlands.
my
Yeah.
god! Oh, that is so freaking cool! Oh, dude, that is that is awesome.
Yeah, because I could see that
We're
going.
starting to bleed into
completely
reality here,
sideways.
guys.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I love it. Rip from the headlines, baby. I'm digging it. Oh, that's so cool. All right.
yeah.
Doug, if you're still there, man, make a note of that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that as being fun to experiment with. But and then you made a mention of younger kids or kids just in general love to be chaos goblins, but I think that definitely falls in line with veterans and our groups as well. So yeah, I don't know that I've DM'd a game for veterans or first responders that didn't have something crazy in it. Let's put it this way: my group I'm running right now left a perfectly good city that was already getting rampaged and decided to rampage it themselves before they left. So yeah.
Well, I guess it's a way to put evil out of business. No, it's okay. We already have
their
chaos
thought
here. We
process
don't need
was
you.
they're so worried about what's going on already, they're not going to notice that we're stealing all their stuff anyhow. So yeah,
I mean,
but
I may or may not have been the catalyst that started that.
Nice. No, that is cool.
Awesome. I'm gonna jump, guys. Thank you all.
All right. Yeah. Let me know. Well, we'll talk next Friday more than likely. So we'll just make sure all characters are cool and we're good to go.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right.
All right, Chris. Night.
All right. Bye.
Be well, sir. All right. So you. Well, I know. Do you want me to just take you through the trek of how easy it is to make a Branchriders character?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Let's do this.
All right. So, first key decision that you want to make in Branchriders is what realm of origin do you want to be from? That's your first decision that you then write on your sheet in the home realm area.
The burrows.
Yes.
The party.
Excellent. I like this, Mike, that you're filling it in with us as you're going through.
And I'm going to go ahead and just put the character's name in.
Okie doke.
Rufus.
Nice.
Right.
For a second, I thought you were going to make a Marx Brothers reference. Rufus T. Firefly from Duck Soup.
No, but that is good.
Oh, Groucho Marx character names were amazing.
They were.
All right. So the next thing that you can do now, or you could do later, most people leave it till afterwards. I just wanted to discuss it for the viewers. Is underneath your name and note with nickname. This can work in two different ways. So your character can have a full name, but nickname is kind of like if you wanted a code name. While you go through the realms, you could pick like a team code name.
We may or may not have discussed that earlier today.
Oh,
and we may or may not have decided that we don't get to pick our own nicknames.
Oh,
we're going to pick them for everyone else.
That's in the book, dude. That's one of the. That's one of the. I forget what the heck they call that in the sidelines on the page where it's just like, no one gets to decide their own nickname. Yep. That's not how that goes. But I'm sure the members of your team would be very eager to give you a nickname, and they're not always flattering.
No, not at all. That's why we went there. Well, I know that's why I asked.
Yeah. For example, my fraternity nickname in college was The Fly, which sounds pretty cool as a guy in the 90s until you realize that The Fly was an acronym for the fucking little yuts. Not as flattering as I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Oh. Okay. So,
sorry.
No, totally good. So underneath is impression and description. We wanted to give not only kind of therapeutically for people, the idea that your expressive identity is different from your internal identity. Who you really are is different from who you want to appear to people. And adventure, it's no different. So your impression is literally how you outwardly display yourself. So it could be as simple as my character is lupine with very low wolf traits, dresses in a shabby 3-piece shark skin suit. That's your impression. Or it could be, I look tough and grumble like I just ate a sandwich, broken glass sandwich, whatever. How you want the character to appear versus the description, which is how you really are as a character. And the players can share as much or as little as each of those as they want. So that's something you can fill out later. Looks like Mike's already putting it in here.
We're already.
I was already brainstorming this stuff.
What do you got? Roughed up lion?
Roughed up lion man. Tattered clothes strong.
Nice.
My impression's a 1980s street punk.
Nice. Do you have Liberty spikes?
So, no, not that bad. No, it's just a mop. There's purpose for that. But studded leather everything.
Nice.
Description. Like, think of the seams down the jacket.
Okay.
Like, if there's stitching there, it's probably riveted with spikes.
Nice. Very much like Vivian's vest on the young ones. That's a reference 5 people have understood. All right.
And then he has the willingness to jump first into anything.
And that's something that everybody knows just from looking at you. Like, man,
they'll figure it out fast. Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Oh, no, actually, Rick Mael was not Vivian. That was Adrian Edmondson, but I love that you know that. Of course, Crystal knows the young ones. Absolutely. Rick Mael was Rick or Prick, as they say in the thing. The people's poet. All right. So next choice that you're going to make is your approaches. So as we said before, it's real simple. Having a visualization of your character, you can alter these if you want as you go through. You're basically going to decide your starting stats. You get 1 to D4, which represents that's the thing you're the least good at. You get 2 to D6, which are average, and you get 2 to D8. Those are the things you are the better at. So let's go ahead and stat those in, and you're done with yet another section. And if you want to talk through your choices, that's cool.
All right, so my character Rufus has a background in combat and tactics, so he is a brawler.
Okay.
With very good knowledge in observation skills.
Oh, hey, if you want to be the toughest SOB in the room, you got to look at where the fists are coming from. Observant makes total sense.
Yep.
So I had a creative for a 6, forceful for an 8, knowledgeable for a 4, observant for a 6, and social for an 8. That whole just punk, get out of my way. I am going to quote a song that I probably shouldn't say out loud, but Pennywise wrote a song. If you guys know the name, I don't need to say it out loud.
Nice. No, there's a patch on my denim that I could reference. That's it's a reference to Jello Biafra and the Dead Kennedys. It's not one that I can say in open company. It's on my jacket. Some parents have noticed. It basically says something that you can do to Nazis. So, okay.
Same thing you can do to authority.
So, all right. So since y'all are making comments about the character in chat, I'm playing a cat character who his history involves being kicked out of the Special Weapons and Tactics unit within the law enforcement organization.
So you're no longer a copper, a tarnished copper.
And he
No,
is
I know that.
he's driven by the need to find out who killed his partner.
I can see the show. Shit,
Based off of a 1990s cartoon.
A 90s cartoon?
Uh-huh. Both characters are alive in the cartoon, and I did change the name of one of the characters.
It's not the cartoon Cops, is it?
SWAT
That's
Cats.
not 90s, that's 80s. COPS.
SWAT Cats.
Oh my God, dude, that's awesome. Okay, so the line was a direct nod. SWAT Cats, very, very nice. Very nice. All right, so once you got your approaches lined up, the next choice that you're going to make is to stat out your skills. Now, as we said before, you must bear in mind that your D10 or D8 must be given to your key skill from your realm. So you're from the Burrows, which means subtlety must either be one of your D8s or your D10. And
I'm sorry, because I took subtlety as my nil.
Oh, well, which realm are you from again? You're from
the party.
Oh, yeah. The party is, I believe the party's about
integrity.
Integrity. Yep. So that must be either your D10 or your D8.
That's only my D8.
Okay.
I picked weird for my D10, and I'll explain why after Mike fills his sheet out. And
yeah, and I mean,
stuff.
It literally, it's just the math that's on the sheet. So you have 2 at a D8, 1 at a D10, 3 at a D6, 4 at a D4, and then 1 you leave blank.
All right.
And you can fill them in later when you get XP and stuff. We'll probably talk about that maybe more maybe at the tail ass end of this. But even the XP costs are so simple. We put those on the back of the character sheet too. So, yeah.
I have no culture.
Now, bear in mind though, culture is not only high society, but it's also like finding a contact on the street. You know the culture of the street.
I took a 6 for that. We're good.
Oh, fine. You convinced me. I'll put it as a 4 and I'll take out science.
So, can I just read you my background? Because the
Go
10 at weird will make sense. During the protest of the Great Showplace, Control's mission was to find and detain magic users. That was the day that things turned upside down. Vin, my girlfriend, was beaten with batons while trying to protect who we thought was a child. As it turns out, she was a being from another realm. I was going to let you fill in that blank because I'm also asking for permission for this narrative too.
If you want to choose what realm the thing came from and that's how you learned about blights, take it and run it.
Well, have fun with it because there's other details here that you're going to have to deal with.
Loving it.
So would this be a yes, but?
Well, I'm like I said, I'm asking for permission. That's why I asked if you wanted me to turn him in so he could read them first. As it turns out, she was a being from another realm. As the child faded away, the child gave me a wallet chain, oddly with no wallet attached. That'll come into play later. And a tattoo of a compass rose transferred from their arm to mine. I came back to the Grand Show Place to find a few storage rooms in the lower levels to be habitable and made them a home. I think that someone knows about it, but I can't find. I don't know if my secret's completely hidden or not.
Okay. Have a couple of thoughts. Yeah, actually, I definitely would not mind looking at the character sheet so I can remember that a little bit better.
Okay.
Because I had an initial thought about where to throw, what adventure to throw, but I think I can still make it work with what you're talking about. Because the tattoo will give me a link. I think I am going to do a Borderlands adventure with y'all.
Okay.
And I'm figuring out an interesting way to make that work. Yeah. Okay.
Because you know why I chose the tattoo? Well, I chose the tattoo because that's my equipment.
Oh, I didn't know what a rose compass was.
Compass rose. It's I'm actually waiting for my daughter to draw hers so I can go get it. It's the compass in the corner of a map is a compass rose.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was something different than that. Okay, I didn't know that was the whole name of that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a compass rose is what it's nautical term.
Yep.
Mike, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, it's a nautical.
Yeah.
You see it on the maps.
Now, so you both have your skills filled in?
Yes, sir.
So the next step is one of the most fun things to do, and I'll even give you a page reference here if you wanted to do that, because I know you both have the document. Next is pick your gift. So for picking your gift, gifts start on page 36. That's where the list is. Now, you all have access to all of the gifts from your home realm.
And they are color coded.
They are color coded in the book.
That was so handy.
Yep. So the burrows, you have gifts like Air of Authority, Didactic Memory. Your mind is crammed full of all the things you have ever seen and heard. Because of an anthro realm, you have Flight, if you want that. Honest Face. Hey, you look like I could trust you, buddy. So yeah, look through your list of available gifts. And how you list the gift, if you want to go to the actual section of the book and copy and paste all of the self other world, that's totally fine. Here's the secret. We designed gifts to not just be limited to the color description that's in the book. We wanted people to be just as creative and flexible about how to use a gift. Because again, in a lot of role-playing games, like, okay, I cast a spell, I can make knives appear in a 5x5 square. Okay. Meanwhile, if we have a gift of Wall of Blades, you could make it comes out of the wall. So it's like a proximity mine. You could make it, to shred someone's art display in the Borderlands. However you want to use that gift is kind of up to your creativity. So it's usually find something that looks appealing to you based on the short description, then read the full descript, which is kind of a little bit further down.
They were deeper.
It starts on page 49. You could also look it up there.
So can I change the Wand of Anarchy to the Chains of Anarchy and them being the wallet chains?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You'd have to just determine magically how you do it. Like, do you snap it like this, like it's like a garrote, or do you spin it around to create the wave for the Chains of Anarchy? Or
I was thinking it's a quick belt clip and just a snap, like a whipping.
Ooh, I like that. All right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, I told you I'm a very yes and GM, and the system is, as you could tell, it's also a very yes and system. We want creativity. Our facilitator's guide actually has a section that describes what you would do to make your character a sentient ham sandwich, because we just wanted to show how ridiculous it could be. But my other is like, what if because we actually had a player in our D&D campaign who wanted to play Kirby. He was a little guy and he loved Kirby. It was his favorite video game character, and he just wanted to play Kirby. And we're like, do you mean a character like Kirby? He's like, no, I'm Kirby. We went, ooh, yay. So D&D rules we did like Druid, but in Branchriders, it's like, Okay, so maybe you come from the Crags, which is like you're a weird poofy fantasy character, and your power is ingest. You eat something, you obtain a property of the thing that you've eaten. Done. You don't need 67 powers. What did you eat? What did it give you? That's all we need, you know?
Okay.
Right. So once you've chosen your gift, and I can see that Mike is doing the copy and paste.
I did the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, it's a little slibbity jibbity.
My thing's screwing up and won't stop scrolling down for some weird reason.
Woohoo!
Oh yeah, my mouse does that on occasion. It's a real pain in the keister.
Yep. Close it, reopen it.
Oh, just try turning it off and on again.
All right. I'll fill all the information in later.
Okay, yeah, it's once you pick your gift, and again, notice that there are 2 spots for gifts on the character sheet. We recommend that starting characters only have access to 1 gift. If you want to give your player, like we have 1 player in our team campaign, he uses all of his XP. He has 10 gifts right now. People are like, isn't that too many gifts? I'm like, no, more options, more chaos, and they don't always work for him. And yeah, hilarious results. So if we scroll up a little bit, the next section is equipment.
Yep.
So again, think of 2 things that your character always has with them. You don't have to choose something that is tied to your original realm. Most people do because it's more thematically appropriate, but you don't have to. You could just be aware if you use a device that is not kind of accepted that it could be from that realm, you do risk an exposure raise just by pulling it out. We had an adventure in the Burrows where one of the players used a gift. Some citizens in the realm became aware of other realms, and Jacobo, the crazy branch rider, was there, and he just murked him. He just threw the head, took him out, and the players were like, what? And he was like, I told you, do not raise the curtain. I take this job very seriously. You get in my way, you'll join them. They're like, you don't play around. I was like, you wanted a more adult campaign. We're older teens.
Right.
Yeah.
See, now, just to use an example, Mike's putting in brass knucks, which in the game, we do equipment kind of 2 ways. One, we kind of say that if you wanted to just get an automatic success from using the equipment, you would use it and it would go away. So it would be like a clutch moment. You need to knock the bad guy. He's running at you. He's jaw jacking and whatever. And you just want to silence him in a room to make a point. You just use those knucks and maybe they get bent or maybe they snap in half because your punch is just that strong. But if you want to keep the equipment, we usually just let you do a standard roll. Yeah. So you have the option of failing with it, but you get to keep the equipment. And occasionally Gossamer will give you specialized equipment, which actually is going to happen during our 1-shot next week.
Okay.
Cool. Well, I know my equipment was this temporary tattoo off the kid and spray paint.
Nice.
A couple cans of spray paint, because what good anarchist doesn't carry spray paint?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll just do the brass knuckles and binoculars.
Okay. Now, the last part of your character, I mean, beyond your description and your impression, is what we call your purpose. So, purpose is a special thing to branch riders, because, of course, everything is special to branch riders. But the purpose of purpose is when we talk about most role-playing games, I've already kind of gotten on my soapbox about the fact that characters rarely change and go through, even though they're going through some stuff, right? We wanted to reflect that. We wanted people to think deeper about the motivation of their character. So, the purpose is, what purpose drives your character? What questions are they trying to answer? about their purpose in the universe. Now, this could be a purpose as a branch rider and their mission. It could be their purpose in life, or it could be a question that they're just trying to solve. Here's a couple examples. I must find a way to make the curtain permanent. I must learn my limits in the face of danger. I need to make new friends even though I fear losing them on the mission. I will discover the truth behind the burrows. The point was to allow clients a way to inject themselves into their character for the purposes of therapeutic goals. However, you also can use this dramatically to make your characters more interesting. Because here's the way that purpose works. Once in the game, you basically, if your purpose is front and center, you can succeed on a roll without having to roll the dice. Because essentially, your purpose, this makes sense to me. Something just happened that helps answer my question. But as a cost of doing that, you're strongly encouraged to change your purpose. If you keep a record of your character's changed purpose, you will see the character's evolution over time.
Okay.
Can be whatever you want. Just make sure that it is something kind of deep and internal to the character. So it shouldn't be just, I want to battle the blight. Why do you want to battle the blight? No one else gets lost on my watch battling the blight. Right? I want to battle the blight because I want to be the first one to destroy a blight. They told me it can't be done. I will be the first to do it. That seems like a pretty balls awesome purpose, you know?
I would type it in there, but it's like massive when I type it.
Oh no, did that? Okay, it might be a different box. I might have to go look at the. Is
Fine,
it not letting you?
Figure it out at some point.
Okay. No, if there's a problem with the file, I definitely need to figure that out.
Well, on the equipment one, if I go and I type in the equipment, so like this is its own separate thing that I had to do.
Okay.
And then when I tried typing in the equipment earlier, it's not going to let me do it now. It looks like.
Did it like put it in another box, or it just wouldn't let you type in it?
Well, it's not letting me type in it now for some weird reason. Like, tried making a text box to fix it. It didn't work.
Okay.
And then
I'll
earlier, when I was typing in the equipment section, the text was massive.
Okay. I'll have somebody check over the info on it. I mean, that happens from time to PDFs in Adobe can be a little temperamental, to say the least.
My description wouldn't let me shrink the size down to put it all in there.
Oh, it didn't automatically slate it. Okay,
No, it did not.
Okay, I'll talk to Sarah. She's the one that very, very lovingly created the PDF form. So she said if there's anything. Nice.
I'll make it work.
I'm just waiting for somebody to use like a Spinal Tap purpose. Have a good time all the time. That's my philosophy, Marty. Viv Savage keyboards.
Purpose. Stuff.
Oh, just don't talk about your special purpose. If you've ever seen the movie The Jerk, you totally get that joke.
Oh, God.
Clearly, Mike has seen The Jerk.
I own the movie.
Oh, it's such a great movie. All I need is this lamp and this telephone and this chair.
I'm gonna name this dog Lifesaver.
First I get my name in the phone book, and now I'm on your ass. I bet more people read that than the phone book. Oh, it's been too long since I've watched that movie.
Yeah.
Well, that is it, gentlemen. You have a Branchriders character.
Wow. That was quick.
Yeah, 15 to 20. I mean, backstories and stuff. I mean, granted, you guys had a little bit more kind of, this was your inspiration, but you can see how there are literally like 5 choices that you make in this, and they're very, very simple. It's approaches, skills, gift, your impression description is the same thing, your realm of origin, equipment and purpose. Okay, 6 decisions that you make, but that's it. Then you have a fully fledged character that's ready to rock.
That is awesome.
What is
Corey?
the selection for the gifts? What are those, and how do we measure those? Because that I left blank on mine. So the gift has a D8, 10, or 12.
Oh, gifts. I mentioned this a little bit ago. Gifts automatically start at a level D8. Yep. So we figure it, because that's the other thing is people are like, well, what's your level 0? And I'm like, no, first of all, level 0 and level 1 sucks. Everybody knows that. That's why you usually start at level 3, because that's when you get cool powers. In our game, it is assumed you have been trained, because we get a lot of players who are like, I'm from the Crags. I don't understand computers. I'm like, yes, you do. You were trained. Why would they take a caveman and just throw him at random into a computer room to smash everything? I was like, you are a trained operative. You have been given training. So it is assumed that you know how to do stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's one of the conceits of our system. You're already awesome. You're not always successful, but you already know what you're doing. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the job. You know, so it takes out some of that goofiness, and it also explains why, gifts don't start at a D4. Why? What good's having a power if you can't use it? Or if it fails all the time? That's not interesting. That doesn't allow the players to be the hero of the story. So, yeah, you might get successes more often than not, but that makes for a fun story. That means when failure happens, it's interesting.
Courtesy of Crystal, here's a compass rose.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah. So that is it. If there's nothing else, I'm hoping everybody tunes in next week. I know you got all kinds of usuals to do, so let me know when to do my pluggables and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Any last minute questions before we wrap up and sign off for the night? I want to make sure that I give people an opportunity. Like, the character creation was really simple and easy. Impressive.
Really.
What did you mean yet impressive? I was intrigued by that statement there, Corey.
No, I said it was impressive.
He said impressive.
Oh,
like some of them, like even like Bison and Delta Green,
Those were fairly quick.
They were quick, but this was quicker, So it says a lot when you go through and you explain it, and you're like, you do this, or you do this, you do this, you do this, like, and within 5 seconds the character is made. Yeah, unlike Traveler. Thank you, Crystal, for reminding me about that nightmare. But I mean, it really is like it, and like you were saying earlier, it is an appealing factor for someone who's never played a role playing game.
Oh yeah,
to have it's like, all right, we're gonna make your character, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that can be such a daunting and dreading task, and then here it is, like you're done in 15 minutes. It's like, oh
yeah. People are like, no, your D&D character will do D&D on be really quick. I'm like, don't lie to me. This is gonna be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And part of it is equipment, money, all those little different things, and then all the extant math and everything, like, well, you got to figure out your bonus and then how your bonus applies to your skills. And I'm like, okay. I mean, in ours, you just pick 2 sets of stats, a gift, and you're basically off and running at that point,
Absolutely. All right. I'm not seeing any questions.
And Max said no one died during character creation.
No one
also
died
not
yeah.
Traveler.
Yeah, also not Traveler. Corey, you got any last minute questions you would like to shoot at Jack?
No, nothing that can wait till we're off.
All right. Very well. All right, Jack. Plug away.
All right. Well, first obvious plug is, please, if you enjoyed everything tonight and then you want to see how the kitten purrs, tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, while we do the one-shot adventure in the Borderland. So you can let Chris know he got his wish. If you're intrigued by the system, you want to check it out or buy a copy of it, of course. You can go to www.branchriders.com. That will give you all the requisite links to get to Drive Through RPG, where you can get copies of the core rulebook, condition cards, and the exposure tracker, PDF or print on demand. Also, if you want to find out more about the Bodhana Group and how you can support us, just go to www.thebodhanagroup.org. That's BODHANA. And also, if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or on, mostly it's Facebook and Instagram. Also, check out that we are going to be starting the Onyx Path Twitch series on Branchriders this coming Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. EST. I think that's kind of about it. It was great questions as usual. I love that already. Crystal and I have a running joke. Jake, not Jack. I love it. But no, thank you for joining us. Thank you to the Roll to Heal community for giving us this space as a fellow nonprofit to hawk our wares, as it were, and to talk our passion, which is awesome. There's been a tremendous, considerable bounty, courtesy of our partnership, and I just can't wait to see what else takes form in the future. So that's all my pluggables.
Absolutely. Corey, any final words before we wrap up?
No, Jack, thank you for showing us this, and I am looking forward to next week.
All right.
Outstanding. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Couple, just reminders and plugs. If you know someone, or you yourself are struggling with some sort of mental health crisis, or you need help, or you just want to talk to somebody, don't forget those 3 numbers, 988. Very important to just kind of keep them in your back pocket at all times. And then obviously, again, we're going to talk about our Gen Con fundraiser. We broke the 50% mark for our goal to $3,000, which is awesome. Just keep spreading the word and letting people know what we're going to do and what the cause is for. And hopefully we break that goal sooner rather than later, because it'll lighten the financial stress for us. So just keep plugging away and spreading the word. And again, check out Roll to Heal on Facebook, or go to our website at rolltoheal.org. And you can contact us on Discord if you're already on Discord. If not, the link to get there is on Facebook and on our website. So you can come on there, and if you got a question or comment or something you would like to talk to us about that we talk about on the podcast, you can do that under the channel Roll to Heal Table Talk. And we are always watching it, so I will always be there to take a look and answer your questions and interact with you, because I enjoy doing that. Again, can't speak volumes, Jack, on you coming on and spending all this time with us, and sharing this new game with us. This it really is exciting to see this thing, and I'm not even kidding. Like I've got a piece of paper with a bunch of notes on things I would love to do with a Blight Realm.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
I
gonna
could see him
have
doing it.
absolute fun with it. And I definitely plan on sharing it with you so that way you can have some fun with it at some point. But you know, again, I'm looking forward to next week. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. And I'll get with Chris and Max so we can get their characters made so that way we're all ready to go and when we start up next week.
Awesome. Yeah, if you could just send, I mean, when you do get those characters done, because I know that Max had said in there about, you know, hey, if you need like some chat or whatever, Max, while you're making the character, just, you know, hit me up through the Rodana group at gmail.com. And, you know, well, I'm very accessible as long as I'm not running your group or at a podcast or doing everything else a nonprofit does. But no, this has been an absolute joy. It's going to be sad when the series ends.
It's just a start. We're gonna keep it going. We'll find ways to make it happen.
That is a very good Grease quote you just dropped. No, it's not the end. It's just the beginning.
That's right.
Oh my God, Mr. Carter.
All right. With that, we're gonna wrap it up. Have a good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week.